Robert here. Happy Easter, and I have with me Liana.
Hello, who does not celebrate Easter?
Right, but
But
I do, so I'm saying it. And
yes,
Bianca's going to be showing up eventually, but
I I
today we
have
got. Yep.
my very festive Easter Cthulhu. Sure, we'll
Oh
say
boy,
that.
how
Yeah.
does Cthulhu react to Easter? I wonder.
Well, I'll avoid the spicy takes until later in the program.
Yep. Oh boy, I'm right at that time of day where the sun is shining and everything, and there we go. Hopefully that's a bit better.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
it's right on your
but,
it's the
yeah.
light of the Lord, Robert. It's the light of the Lord. I
But
don't know.
yeah.
I've seen this "it is finished" thing all
Mhm.
weekend, and I had no idea what that was. My friend who was raised Catholic had to explain it to me. I'm like, okay,
Gotcha. But
Easter's
yeah,
confusing.
today we are going to be talking about movie and just adaptations in general of comics and manga, and just
Yes.
talking about, because I started thinking about this lately after Bianca and I did our video on Alita Battle Angel and Speed Racer. I started thinking back, especially with Speed Racer. That movie bombed and was panned when it came out. But nowadays, people look back and are saying it's one of the best anime adaptations ever. And I started thinking, why did people not notice how good it was back then, but they're noticing it now? And well, on part you have stuff like Death Note, obviously, but yeah, you get why I'm curious about that, right? It's like, why did they have complaints back then, but nowadays they don't have any complaints about it?
I just don't think people knew what Speed Racer was when it
And those
came
that
out.
did had a rose tinted glasses, probably thinking it
Yeah,
was more dramatic than it was when it was just like, ooh, ah, oh.
there's always a there's always a reaction to when Western companies adopt something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a knee jerk reaction, but I think people. I mean, it was a kids movie, right? Speed Racer as it's been
Family movie.
a family movie, right? It's always been one of those ones where it's the idea more Japanese idea of family
Oh yeah. Oh,
than
that's the main
Western.
reason why Rex Racer X, he wouldn't go back in the actual Japanese is because he left the family. He abandoned it. He
Mm-hmm.
can't go back. That's why they actually cut off a few scenes of a close-up shot of him just crying during when they came to the states. There's actually an
Yeah,
added scene in that final episode when he unmasks himself, where it shows like I cannot go back there. Now, believe it or not, in the actual manga, it is a 180 from the end of the anime. In the anime,
yes.
Rex is saying, it's like I must fully become a secret agent. I cannot go back to my family. In the manga, he's saying I'm done being a secret agent. I am now coming back to my family.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where how do you market Speed Racer in the West? It's
Exactly.
the attitude at the time was they should have done it primarily to preteens, forget the otaku base. I don't know
The
because
Wachowskis were never going to do that ever.
well, because they're nerds, but
Oh yeah,
but it's
I'm just going to say the
also
Wachowskis. I'm not. I know they were the brothers then and the sisters then. I'm just going to say Wachowskis for the sake of argument.
fair enough, but I mean, it's the sort of thing where I mean, part of the thing that made Alita a slow burn is that people found it and was like, "This is really good,"
Oh
and
yeah.
okay, it was not.
Oh, I loved it.
Alita had a different issue. I really enjoyed Alita. I mean, yes, they changed things. They
Took stuff
changed
from the
things.
OVA that the creator hated, but he loves the movie. He
Yeah,
actually did artwork for it.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, that was one that I think they got the gist of
Mm-hmm.
it in a way that, but again, that was not shoved into kids movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Exactly.
kids movie ghetto. They're in okay. Alita is a coming of age story. It's easier to market now. Are we talking about? Are we going to focus on financial success or quality of the adaptation?
Quality,
Okay.
more than financial. In fact, just to show a little example of Alita, my favorite sequence, and I made sure to do this on Chrome. Let me know if you hear any audio. All
Okay.
right. Do you hear anything?
Mhm.
What could I learn from a loudmouth pretty boy who spends all of his money on his face?
Maybe I'll pull your arms and legs off. Roll your head around in the street. Maybe that'll teach you some manners.
You might mess up your hair.
You gonna take that, Stan?
Is it's isn't it funny that the movie was criticized for the big anime eyes and now we're so used to that image it's normalized?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you get used to it. If you see it just like, if you just saw this clip, you just be all like, but you get used to it really fast because it's kind of like it's that weird type of thing that, and I think it's something that happens even in the world. You'd be seeing her and you'd be like, okay, weird. Clearly there's something up about her, but you just move on because you're like, she's still acting normal. She's not weird.
Well, I also think that that was deliberate in that she's not human. She is
Mm-hmm.
dangerous. That,
Oh,
I
big
think
time.
they were deliberately using anime eyes to make her uncanny valley because Robert Rodriguez doesn't have an issue challenging the audience, but that was exactly the complaint with people, is that it was too challenging to get used to a character that didn't look human.
Exactly. And
Right?
I think he nailed it. I think he got that perfect balance, but for some people, they just can't handle it or
Yeah,
accept
well,
it.
I mean, you're talking about the latest Terminator movie struggled because people couldn't handle the time loop. I'm like, oh God,
Oh, God.
audiences are getting stupider. I mean,
Can I be honest? I did not hate Genesis. And that had made it even more convoluted.
which one was Genesis?
That was the one where someone went back in time and changed the history of the first movie entirely.
The one with Emilia Clarke.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. See, that
I
was
did not
fun.
hate that one. I did not hate that one because I felt like, it makes sense for Skynet since it was made clear since the third movie in Salvation that Skynet is remembering things with each iteration. It's basically like, we already knew John and Sarah were already leaving hints throughout the each iteration. Why wouldn't Skynet start to pick up on things and be like, wait, I'm looking through all the history reports. Why is there stuff of a robot being found well ahead of time that I'm working on right now? How did it already exist back then?
Yeah, the only complaint that I accept with that Terminator movie was that, Emilia Clarke wasn't muscular enough to play Sarah Connor,
No.
and that was a Game of Thrones thing. But
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah,
but
it didn't bother me that
Jay
much.
Courtney, he did not have the right role as being
Yeah,
Kyle. As Kyle, he was great as Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad,
yes, he was.
but
Yeah.
not as Kyle. As Kyle, he was so wooden.
Okay, what is the official name of the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie?
The,
Because
the Suicide
The
Squad.
Suicide Squad. That's right. Because I actually thought that was a pretty good adaptation, but it is a
Oh,
James Gunn adaptation in that he's going to take a bunch of obscure characters that nobody knows about, change everything about their backstory, and
Polka
make you
Dot
love it.
Man, Polka Dot Man. He basically
Love
did a
it.
Google search saying who is the worst DC villain.
No joke. That was why I was stoked for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what James Gunn does with those characters, and I'm like, Polka
His
Dot Man.
mommy issues. His mommy issues.
He's gonna do an amazing job with Polka Dot Man. He
I
just
love when Bloodsport
is.
say, "That's your mom," and you just
I
get.
I'm still pulling for that to be the other adaptation. I would love a Polka Dot Man prequel limited series on HBO Max. Would love
Uh,
that.
I would love that too, but I don't think we're gonna get that one.
I could still hope. I mean, I
Oh,
never
and
thought I'd
look
see
at what he
Guardians of
did
the
with
Galaxy.
look at what he did with Ratcatcher.
Yeah, yeah, a total change again, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Complete change.
there's only been one version of a female Ratcatcher, and they
Yeah,
hardly did so with her in the comics, so he had free reign to do the
yeah,
change her.
yeah.
I
I
gotta say,
mean,
the only problem I ever had of him changing was Drax. I did not like him being a completely alien when, in fact, he was a human who got changed.
and yet Dave Bautista's so good in that part.
In the first movie, the
Yeah,
second one,
Oh,
I
the
feel
second
bad for
one.
Batista. Even Batista admits he hated how they turned him into just a walking joke.
Well, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, it must have been such an uphill battle to even get that thing made. I never
Oh
thought I'd
yeah,
see a Guardians movie. That was the one
and
where,
they used the Dan Abnett, Andy Landing version.
yeah, well, yeah, it makes sense that they do that, but the amount of stuff they actually put in, like including Cosmo
Hmm.
and Howard the
Oh
Duck,
yeah,
all that, clearly they love it. That's an example of I have trouble assessing the quality of Guardians as an adaptation because did they
oh,
get the basic content of that run down? Yes, there were
that's
things
where I
about
look at
it.
something. That's where I look at something like the game. The recent game is a perfect middle ground between the
Mhm,
movie and the comics. It leans
right.
more a lot of these because if you look at it, it takes a lot of sticks from both and
Yeah.
then adds some of their own into it.
Yeah, I mean, as opposed to the Sin City movie that I was
Mm.
actually sitting there reciting the lyrics, the lines in the theater, and I
Now,
hated it.
for what it is, but that's the case where you didn't get something that one for one, and it let the. I think what Rodriguez was going for was he wanted to work the stand on its own, like what Miller did. He basically felt like what Miller did doesn't need any tweaking.
Except for a couple of scenes that I actually
Well,
enjoyed
yeah.
because it was new, right? But it was
Hmm.
an interesting experiment. Like visually, it was stunning.
Oh yeah, beyond and visual with it.
I
The fact you
I
have two actors never met each other until the premiere
Yeah, but I mean, that was another thing, right? Some of the performances in Sin City were a little flat and
because they weren't bouncing off each other.
because they weren't bouncing off each other because I don't know, something just and I think I needed because it was exact. So for every Marv and Kevin, you get was Jessica Alba really a great Nancy Callahan?
Well,
She
they
was an
well, it's thanks to her though that Nancy had clothes on, which really I think was a better choice than her being completely naked.
See, I kind of like it's Frank Miller. He's Mr. Horse, Horse, Horse.
Except
If
for one
you're
character. You know who the
right.
one character is?
Who?
I'm showing it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Martha
There you
watch
go.
it. I just went over the second half of one of my videos with a friend of mine, and he loved it. He
Well,
loved it once I
that
showed
was
over him.
that was
Yeah,
probably more Dave Gibbons influence than Frank
I think
Miller.
to a degree, but you can see where Frank, a lot of his isms are in here.
Oh
But the
yeah.
fact that she is not a whore, she is not a prostitute, but she
Mhm.
is beyond a strong character. Although it breaks your suspension when you see a moment like her cutting a sword through a guy, and then immediately find out she's 16, and you're like, what? And that was
Well,
what my friend did. The moment I said it read the bit where it says she's 16 years old, he's like, wait, what?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe she grew up rough. But yeah, I mean the see Sin City is the other side when people talk about well they change too much. There's a sweet spot, right? Like there's a middle ground. If you change nothing, people like me who already eat, you shouldn't punish people in an adaptation for knowing the source material by
Oh yeah.
changing too much or by changing not enough, right?
And that's why I do like when Robert Kirkman said when he was doing The Walking Dead. And I think this went away from him though, but I get what he was coming from, where he said, I don't want people to come in and just be spoiled right off the bat. I want to throw curveballs for those who know it, and that way they're expecting it. And then when I throw them with I go veer left instead of right, they'll be like, "Whoa, wait a second."
See, I got really mad at the way they handled Glenn's death on that quit the series forever. I
Well,
already thought the governor outstayed his welcome. Ooh, I Canadianed a lot there. Outstayed his welcome too much on the show. It got too much because the governor was like in and out in the
mhm.
comics, right? And he
Yeah,
just it lingered and lingered too long. And then they did the same thing with Negan and I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan and I know people love Negan, but the in the comic it is the world that is the um enemy, the antagonist so to speak, whereas in the
mhm.
show it's the other humans are the most dangerous and I'm just so tired of that trope that I mean, okay, I don't think anybody expected Walking Dead to go on as long as it
Oh
did, and
no! And
then
again, I get where again. I just say for the starting point, that starting
oh
initiative
yeah, oh yeah,
made sense. It's just as
yeah,
it went
oh
on,
agreed.
that's when it went off the rails. And I bet you even Kirkman would agree with that. I think there were some changes that were out of his control that he probably wished didn't happen.
Well, when they lost Rick, it
Yeah,
sort of was like, what are they gonna do now? It
especially
still
because
does,
it's like he should have ended it right there with Rick. I hate to say it, but the show should have ended with Rick like they did in the comic.
but it for AMC standards, it still does fairly well. So they were never
Mhm.
gonna let that happen. I mean, the golden handcuff on that show is they talk about Disney golden handcuffs, but can you imagine being an actor on The Walking Dead right now? Oh
Oh yeah.
my
Oh, now
god.
here's one adaptation. Well, it's not even an adaptation. It's set in the world that I still love, and that's the Walking Dead game, the Telltale game. Look at how
Yes, the
much
first
people
the first game, yes.
the first game, and but I do think it got better by the last season. The last season was a good apology and then ramping up.
Okay, I dropped it on the second because it was just too
Yeah,
bleak.
well, Clementine's barely in the third, but she's
Yeah.
entirely in the fourth one. It wraps up her character. But you have a graphic novel now that picks up where the game's left off, and it's going to have her intersect with the comics.
I mean, it did sort of intersect. Everything intersects on the green farm in the
Oh
Walking
yeah,
Dead universe, right? And I find that very interesting that they
oh yeah.
use that as
To
a
explain why he was so pissed off and everything. It's just like,
well, but also you kind of know when a character what the timeline is, whether there's a barn full of zombies on the green farm, right?
right.
So it's kind of fun, like, okay, that happened before that, that happened after
Well,
that.
yeah,
Like,
and the
okay,
game is
that's
the
really cool.
earliest point in the
Yeah,
history because
yeah.
you could sleep in the barn, no
Yeah.
worries.
Yeah, yeah, which I thought was kind of cool if you knew the continuity. If you didn't, it was just a creepy cannibal scene as per usual. But if you did know it, it's like, all right, this is an interesting persistent world technique where they pass through here, you know what's going to happen, you're getting a little bit of foreshadowing. Well done. I did think that first season of the Walking Dead Telltale game was quite good.
Yep, and the fact that you thought Lily was going to actually be the
Yeah.
character from the comics until they decided nope, and then they brought her back in the fourth season, and unfortunately made her a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But it
Yeah.
was kind of like she was heading down that route anyway.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
whenever I play it, I always try to have Lee both. He tries to do what he can to both make Kenny happy, but he also I was trying to go to have it be Lily. I knew it wasn't going to happen. That's the one problem with Telltale. You get railroaded no matter what you do, but it makes sense. You can't have infinite choices.
it's that when you're doing essentially a walking novel on steroids, or a
Hmm.
walking simulator on steroids, those binary choices add to the drama. I sometimes there are only two choices. There's no plan C, but
I do like it though if they eventually got to a point where a character could die early on and the
Mhm,
story continues on forward
mhm.
without them. But if you still have them there, it doesn't be like, oh, they're expendable at any point.
Yeah, yeah. No, they did some interesting
Although then
things with
season two
it.
though was what's her name, the girl who's like the other young child.
Yeah.
Oh god, did they clearly had it out for her, and the way she died, I was like, fuck you,
That was too
because that
nihilistic
was
for me.
that was so much of an obvious. Oh, we hate this girl. Why do we create her? Yeah, good question. Why did you create her if you hated her so much?
It also just felt to me like they were trying to one up themselves from the first season instead of telling a different story with different points of shock and pathos. It is a challenge with zombie stories. I mean, The Last of Us 2 fell into this trap as well.
Hmm.
I don't think they're going to be able to do an adaptation where people who played the games are going
Sarah was her
to
name.
the girl in, yeah,
Yeah.
the daughter, yeah. But yeah, I have absolutely zero interest in the HBO Walking Dead spinoff. It's probably gonna be a weird mash of things. If they
Hmm.
change it, it's gonna desecrate the first game. If they don't change the second part, it's gonna desecrate the first game. They are in a no-win situation with that
Yeah,
franchise.
but at least I'm
Yeah.
grateful that Skybound was willing to, well, wrap that up. Wrap that up. Wrap it up
Mhm.
with the fourth season, and I'm glad they did. After Telltale shut down, we thought we were never going to get it again. I am so grateful Skybound just came and said, "Let's wrap it up, people, and give it the send up it
I'd
deserves."
I'd love them to do a Days Gone show, actually get Sam Witwer
Oh yeah.
in because he was great in that part. And just because that to me, that's a world that has more room for exploration, and they're not as, I mean, you can have the supporting characters, but at the same time you can bring in others and just play in the world more than, I think they picked the wrong PlayStation franchise. I get why PlayStation did it. I get what they're doing with IP, but see, manga or comics to movies is easier to do because you can add, right? You can
Exactly.
add the action sequences, you can give that third dimension to it. Going from a game to a television show, you're
Well, look at
actually
Halo.
losing a sense. Yeah. Well, anything, right? There's a
Which I got a
why
friend. I
can't
got
we
a
make
friend of
good
mine.
game adaptations, right?
I think that's why they were so upfront saying this is a different universe for Halo, and I give them props for that. I do give them props for being upfront and blunt, saying, "Don't
Just
try and fit this in. It
don't use
doesn't fit
Chief.
in."
Yeah, don't use Chief. Don't use Master
Well,
Chief.
oh, no, I agree with that, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, no. At least they were upfront about it,
Hmm.
and yet that still didn't do any good. People are still pissed about it. Do you think it's going to get a second season, or do you think this is going to?
I don't know. It's Paramount Plus, right? It doesn't.
Mm,
Why is Discovery still going? I
mhm.
don't know.
Well, no,
Because
from what I understand, Discovery after this merger is going to slowly move into merging with HBO Max.
Discovery is a terrible show now.
Oh, it's not
It is
Discovery,
just
not Star
bad.
Trek Discovery. I was thinking about the Discovery app.
Oh,
Sorry.
Discovery. Oh, Discovery. Warner
Oh,
Brothers.
but
Oh my
Picard
God,
is
I'm so
even
sorry.
worse. Picard is even worse. Have you ever been seeing some more and more people are getting really outraged?
I
I mean,
watched the
Angry Joe
first.
just.
I watched the
Yep.
first Q episode of Picard, and
Oh, they finally gave an explanation about Guinan and her people and what was the whole deal with her and Q. And it turns out, oh, they went to war and then they had reached a stalemate.
of course, I don't know.
Well, it
I
was less a
enjoy.
war. It was less a war and more the fact that the Q kept trying to change history, and then Guinan's people kept on because they're immune to changes, kept putting him back, and then basically they reached a stalemate. Which, to be
Yeah,
fair, we know the Q can get bored when it's an eternal stalemate.
true. True, true. Do we all
But
agree on putting instead of typing it, do we all agree that Michael is the worst part of Discovery?
oh,
Because they had no purpose for her other than, hey, we're gonna have a black female lead in a Star Trek series. And do what with her? We're gonna have a black female lead in a Star Trek series. They
exactly.
didn't have anything beyond that.
They didn't. They didn't.
And the rest of the cast, well, okay, hit or
And then
miss
of course, oh,
now. But
and then of course they like, oh, she's related to Spock.
yeah, she was a Spock fan fiction season 1. She was a Kirk fan fiction season 2, and then they got a cat. I like the
Yeah.
cat, but yeah, that show
Especially when
when
you
you
had the best part is when you waste Michelle Yeoh in the
oh,
show.
well, okay, she was amazing for when
Yeah,
she
well, it's
was in it,
Michelle
though.
Yeoh.
Giorgio was great.
I know. Now they brought her back finally and made her a mirror version of herself.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'll
Oh
have to
yeah,
watch again. Okay, they knew it was a problem. So she probably had to go shoot Shang-Chi, which is why she had to bail out. But yeah,
maybe
that
no.
show
From
lost
what I
something.
understand, they just had her on there so they can have an excuse then to do stuff with Michael later. It's like they just need to create someone strong and then kill her off right away to put Michael more in the prominent place.
Oh, okay. I did see the other stuff then. I did see that. That was the part I was like, she's amazing. But I mean, Star Trek is an example of, it's weird because it's now a TV adaptation of a TV show, right?
Yeah. Right
And
now, you're gonna have this new not strange adventure, Voyage or whatever it's called. That's gonna be just retelling Kirk stuff again. It's like,
the Captain Pike show.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
see the thing about Star Trek, it was so a product of its time. It was the original woke sci-fi, right?
to it, yes, to a degree, but
Yeah.
not to the detriment of its characters.
Well, because woke in the 60s when woke started was like woke light compared to today,
Oh
right?
yeah, but unfortunately, when you have people like even again Angry Joe, as progressive as they come, you know who he is, right? The video
Yeah,
game
yeah.
YouTuber.
Yeah.
Even he's saying like, no, I agree with the progressive messages they're doing, but the way they're executing is completely just disgusting to Star Trek and Picard. And unfortunately, it's a case where Patrick Stewart has creative control, and let's be honest, he never really believed in the belief of Star Trek. Shatner believed in it more than Stewart does.
See,
Because Stewart always felt like it was the role that he's known for, but not the role he wanted, because unfortunately all the good, cool stuff that Kirk did was given to Riker.
but also, I mean, let's face it, it was made very clear to Patrick Stewart that he was not wanted in that part. So,
Hey, oh yeah, they wanted to get rid of him during Days of Future Past. No, yeah.
Yeah,
Not Days of Future Past, Best of Both Worlds.
They didn't want to cast him in the first place. It was
Hey, Tristan.
Yeah, hey Tristan. But I mean, Star Trek is a weird one, right? Because they had the show, and then the movies broadened how many people saw.
Bianca.
Yay, Bianca! Okay, now we can talk about manga and anime now because Bianca.
Let's finish the Star Trek bit though. But I get what you're saying.
So the movies changed Star Trek, right? It took it from this
both of them,
fun little Planet of the Week romp where
except for Insurrection, that was pretty much a glorified long form Star Trek Next Gen episode.
Yeah, but
with some action thrown in.
But I'm not even there yet. I'm talking like Star Trek the movie Wrath of Khan Search for Spock, right? All of a sudden, I mean, Wrath of Khan is seen by a great many as one of the greatest space science fiction movies ever.
For good reason.
Right? And oh yay puppy! But sorry, that was a chat thing for people who are watching this on rerun. Then Wrath of Khan, yeah, yay puppy! That I just squirreled there. But so okay, Wrath of Khan ups the stakes, right?
Oh yeah, especially after the Snorefest that was motion picture.
Well, yeah, that one, yeah. But then they had the movie thing, and then they did Next Generation, and Next Generation was a phenomenon.
Oh yeah. Well, once it finally got the ball rolling, it didn't start off that way. When it started, it was again, but after they finally grew the beard, as the phrase goes.
Yeah. yes, and I mean it was a big deal. Ever since then, it's like Star Trek has been trying to get lightning in the bottle again with that.
I would say Deep Space Nine has got its own different lightning in the bottle, but it wasn't a big, huge success. But what it had was phenomenal writing.
Okay, but the problem with Deep Space Nine is it was a ripoff of Babylon 5. Like,
that's because it was coming out at the same time.
5. No, the guy who made Babylon 5 pitched to Star Trek. They're like, no thanks, and they just did it on their own. So it was a complete ripoff.
You mean JMS? That was JMS who did it.
Was it? I don't know if he was the one pitching it, but I mean, I am a Babylon 5 fan. Deep Space Nine, okay, but Babylon 5.
And then Voyager, they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Voyager,
I mean, how many times did they completely rewrite Janeway from episode to episode? That was one of the things Kate Mulgrew was always pissed off about. She never got a full grasp on who Janeway was because they kept changing her.
Except with her relationship with 7 of 9. That kind of clicked, and those episodes were okay. But yeah, Voyager never did. What was the other one with Scott Bakula?
Oh, Enterprise, yeah. No, that didn't find fun until the 4th season, and that was done too late.
Yeah, it's like they keep pumping out Star Trek because
the 4th season gave what people wanted. Played us up like a prequel, not just some other thing that's in Star Trek clothing.
Yeah. And it's like they don't have a reason to make a new Star Trek show other than make a new Star Trek show. And some adapted works are getting to that point, right? Superman's another one. Other than Superman and Lois, which is an excellent show with a reason for being, they just keep making Superman movies. And why? They just keep wanting to fan fiction the Donner film.
Which are great on their own, but even I have to admit, you can't keep using them. Now, granted, they got lucky with the recent Superman 78 comic, but that was because it was fitting it. You read that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh, that was phenomenal. Now, granted, you could never make that into an actual movie even back then because no way in hell we can get Brando a big role like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was deliberately a snapshot in time. Like, it was nostalgia.
Or the Batman 89.
Yeah.
Which I've realized something.
Yes. Okay.
And the funny thing about that is I realized people kept saying, oh, look at all the BLM stuff. But I realized, but here's one thing you got to take into account. When did Batman Returns come out? 92.
Yeah.
Now you already have Billy D. Williams, and you're going to have Marlon Wayans locked in as Robin, Harvey and Robin.
Billy
But
D was in 89. He was in the
yeah,
89 film.
yeah, and he was still locked in under contract to
Mhm.
do it. So if you did the third one, if you were going to follow up on everything, what happened in 92 that could probably affect the writing, especially when you have two prominent black leads?
Was that Rodney King?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the LA riots.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it from that point of view. I'm like, yeah, that would have influenced the story.
Well,
Now, granted, it matches modern day stuff with BLM, yes, to be certain. But that doesn't mean that I don't think Sam Hamm didn't already have this in mind even back then, if he had done it.
There was some controversy around making Harvey Dent black even back then. I mean, the 89 Batman film, it's a mess when we talk about adaptations.
We can even talk about that too. We can even talk about adaptations. Yeah.
It's a mess. Batman is shooting people with machine guns on the Batmobile.
And
right?
blowing them up.
Yeah, it's much more a Joker movie.
Actually, to be fair, he never really shot anyone. He shot the door down, but then he went in there and then blew it up.
Right. And so, I mean, Batman's killing people. The Joker is Jack Nicholson in face paint. The only thing that really seemed to understand what a Batman story was Prince's soundtrack, but people liked it. And
because it was a close enough. It was a close enough.
I did not like it. This was the beginning of the end of like, okay, I really liked the second one when Tim Burton got more creative control. Yeah.
Even though that was even further off from the comics.
Yes and no, in that Gotham City became a character.
Oh, no, yes. In that regard, yes.
Right.
But as far as Batman, the main leads, it was way off.
Okay, it was super cheesy, but what I liked about Batman Returns is that it reimagined well-known characters, right? So it reimagined the Penguin in a way that still holds to this day, right? I mean, Danny DeVito's Penguin, everybody's like, what was that at the time? And now you kind of got
going back to Burgess Meredith a bit more, though, I've noticed. They go back to the wah.
It splits the difference between the two, right? They liked the Penguin being something more than a crime boss. Of course, now in the Batman, he's back to being a crime boss. But, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman.
Oh, now that completely redefined how everyone did. But again, people forget, pre-crisis, there was not an established character for Selena at all.
That's right. And 89,
she was a flight attendant. She was a flight stewardess that got flown out window and then got amnesia. There was all these other things.
But that's what I liked about it. I could be okay. This Batman is in this world. I don't have to pull in anything from the comics. I don't have to worry about Earth 1, Earth 2, nothing like that. It sets it up. It's a self-contained thing. I understand what they're going for. I recognize the characters. There are new ideas. I'm happy despite the horribly cheesy dialogue. Right. I mean, I'll give it that.
Mythical can be deadly if you eat it. A kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it.
And Christopher Walken was in it.
Now, I will say this, though. The romance worked.
Because they sold it, right?
They sold it, yeah. And especially, and Michelle Pfeiffer, good God, you could tell she was playing a character that truly felt like she was so split. Especially that bit at the dance when she's like, I don't know anymore. When she said that, you're like,
Michael Keaton also got enough screen time to build a character in that thing, as opposed to the first movie.
My favorite scene has to be when he is going into that boardroom with Shrek, and he just comes there like he owns the joint. He's all like, and again, it's one thing I always love it's when Bruce Wayne plays up the dumb playboy, but then shows he knows what he's talking about. Just toss them the file and be all like, yeah, I did my own research on you, Shrek.
Keaton is still possibly my favorite live action Batman, but Pattinson is neck and neck right now. I need to see another Pattinson movie.
I still say Affleck had it. He had the spark, the potential, but the writing did not help him.
I actually thought when
that goes for most of the people in the Snyderverse.
I got in the Justice League movie where he actually did something other than scowl and growl. He was a pretty good Bruce Wayne. I actually liked the long suffering.
They never get an Alfred, Rob. You know, there's never been a bad Alfred.
That's true.
There's never been
hearing a lot of people saying that they didn't like this portrayal of Alfred. My brother included.
In the Snyderverse?
No, in the Reeves verse, the new one. Andy
Yeah.
Serkis.
Really?
Well, you know what's funny about
He
that?
matches the Earth One version.
He's the closest to the comics we've ever gotten
I think it's
as an
because
SAS guy.
people are so used to Alfred
Michael
looking
Caine.
really, really old, like really old. So like, they're like,
Depends.
he
It
doesn't look
depends
old
on it.
enough.
It's supposed to
I
be
can
your
understand
cue,
that.
though.
Yeah.
I thought he was great personally. For the Michael Keaton, my sister and I are having a Batman marathon, so we decided to watch Batman starting from '89 to now. So we are in the middle of Batman Forever with Val Kilmer. I will say that
Oh.
I know I did enjoy Keaton's portrayal, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so we know why everybody
I
likes
say Batman
Keaton.
Batman Forever. Sorry, I just want to say quick. Batman Forever had good potential, and like I say, people like to dump on Joel Schumacher. If you actually hear what the gut plans he actually had a good vision for it. Unfortunately, the studios kept telling him, "Camp it up, camp it up."
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I'm like literally like in the middle. Like I have like probably like maybe 45 minutes left into the movie, and I'm telling my sister like the Keaton ones, the first two were campy, but this campiness is too much that it's
It
pretty
was
much
forced
annoying.
campiness. It was forced campiness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
especially
what.
with Tommy Lee Jones.
Well, that was because he was outraged. He hated working with Jim Carrey. He even told him that in person when they met up at a restaurant. Jim Carrey's told the story before. Went
Poor
up
Jim
to him
Carrey.
and basically said, like, "Hey, what's wrong?" He's like, "I don't like you, kid. I do not like you at all." And he just hated it. And that's why even Joe Schumacher tried to rein him in, but Tommy was having none of it. It was his way of protesting it. Do you know what the only time I felt he nailed Harvey was right at the very end when he's like, "Yes, Bruce, you are true." Oh no, two times in the beginning when right before he does the luck stupid before that when he does like why, you know that big little why when he's asked why. Then at the very end, it's like, "Yes, you're right, Bruce. Yeah, like thank you, Bruce. You've always been a good friend." Like just that brief moments when Harvey came through, it
Yeah,
worked.
that was an example of, oh, we need it to be more like the Adam West Batman TV show because
Oh,
that's
that
what
was in
people
Batman and
remember.
Robin where they did it.
To
But
me, he acted
even
like a dubbed anime character.
yes,
Huh? What? And I'm like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, cringe.
actually, no, there was one other bit. The whole like, "You violate the sanctity of our lair. But you gave us the most enticing proposition. So we'll let the coin decide. At heads, we go along with it. Tails, we pull your goddamn head off. Ding!" I'm like,
So
okay, that felt like Two-Face right there too.
I actually have a question for you guys, since you guys were like probably there the first time like it came out and everything.
Yeah.
So when I'm watching it, I'm seeing Harvey Dent in the first one, and I believe the second one, but he was
No, he was
black
never in the second one. He was
in the first
because
one. Sorry.
that was
they
Billy
chose.
D. Williams.
Yeah, that was Lando.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Lando.
Yeah, that
He's
was
so
Yeah.
Orlando
young.
Calrissian. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
And
but
I
the
was so
original one,
confused. I was like, wait, this guy's gonna be Two-Face
he was
soon?
going to be, and they
He's
have him
going
in
to
the
be.
'89. And that's been one of the biggest what could have been that people still to this day wish they had saw.
But people
Honestly,
were
I
upset
was
at the
sad when he
time.
changed. I'm sorry, Liana.
But
Well, yeah,
that was the original angry at a race swap.
really, I did not know
Yeah,
that
it was
back then.
controversial at the
I don't hear
time.
anybody talk about it when they talk about Keaton
Well,
Batman or
but
anything.
I know nowadays it seems to have fallen by the wayside. Probably because you know what I think is. I think it's because there wasn't social media for people to fester and just build
You're right.
on.
They sent letters. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that was
No,
pretty much
they were
it.
mostly individuals who just made some, big talking points, but then no one else gave them minds, so they eventually be like, I'll go watch it still. Hey, you know what's not that bad? Because they didn't have anyone else around them to keep up the hatred.
Prince did some really interesting things in the stuff he did. He actually, I mean, it was a big deal. Prince straightened his hair to play his version of Bruce Wayne, and everybody was like, "Oh, Prince code switched. What?" Because I mean, the Gemini Joker character was the funky one, right?
Yep.
But the soundtrack was the best part of that movie. I
Yep.
mean,
It was good.
Well, that and Danny Elfman's score.
yeah, I guess I count that as the soundtrack, like just the whole package. Yeah,
Remember,
yeah.
it was two separate releases. It was the first time you ever got a soundtrack and a score.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean I still love the original Chris Reeves Superman movie. Um
I need to
That
do a
being
Superman
said, though,
marathon.
oh, that's a rough ride. But I
Oh,
mean, Superman, the
the first
animated
three, even the
series,
third movie, I give props for. The first three are not bad.
just
Even
because
the third
Christopher
one.
Reeves is so good in that part. But I
Yeah.
mean, we don't have a Batman the animated series to compare to with that, or the really excellent
We have the Superman the animated series.
games, right? But the Superman the animated series was nowhere near the phenomenon that Batman was, and
True.
the Rocksteady Batman games are
Oh yeah.
probably the best Batman adaptation.
Okay, we talked about the animated series, and can I be honest about something? And you're gonna probably laugh because you probably knew this ahead of time. You did not believe how much I was floored to find out Kevin Conroy was gay. I did not know until recently.
Same.
Makes sense.
What, you didn't know either?
Me? What?
No, I was talking to Liana. Liana, did
Oh
you
no,
know?
I just it wasn't a thing. Like,
Well, I know, but I just find that so like, wow, I had no clue.
I mean, Batman
Now
is
it all
kind of
makes
gay.
sense.
Just saying, like the whole concept, kind of gay. Just
Anyway,
saying.
I just realized we've been kind of going all over the place in general. Let's actually talk about the main, now that Bianca's here, the main crux of this discussion that the stream was about, which is in general, why is it there are some adaptations that people long remember, even though when you really think about it, they're more settling on something that's close enough. But then when you get some that are actually, because like I said, like I said at the start, what the started this whole discussion was the Speed Racer movie. And how
The live action Speed
the
Racer
live action
movie.
movie. Well, they see
When
the
Bianca
animated.
initially mentioned she watched, I was like, "Oh my god, Speed Racer! I love Speed Racer!" But I was talking the anime, right, not the live action, and she was like, "Whoa."
Well, actually, just before we get started, I'm just going to share a little clip for those who have not seen it.
They needed to sell the concept to new people enough.
Exactly. But I will say this, though. They did make one change in there, the mythos, that I actually love and prefer. The fact that Rex had plastic surgery to when he was Racer X, you couldn't tell. That way, when he unmasked himself, Speed's like, "You're not my brother."
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That no other version has done that, but I prefer that. I do prefer that little change.
Yeah, I mean, this one's tough for me because it's clearly a family movie.
It is,
Right.
but then again, so was the original source.
Yeah, but family like shonen anime and Western family movie, not the same thing. Attack on Titan is technically shonen.
Right.
It's not a seinen.
So what's that?
But
It's not seinen?
That one was originally published in a shonen manga, and it was controversial. If I'm correct, it was controversial because it wasn't really a shonen. It definitely is more. Well, it is because they start as kids, but then they move up to teens. It's Attack on Titan is its own thing. You really can't put it anywhere. But it was considered far too violent. I mean, I think it was Shonen Jump that wouldn't take it because
oh yeah,
it was too violent. And yeah, but yeah, it morphed. Yeah, it morphed from shonen to seinen. But it started, I mean, they were kids, and I've been rewatching the last bit to catch up and remind myself, and I'm like, wow, the use of child soldiers in this was a lot. But yeah,
I just, to me, just the first episode of how it was, I'm like, this seems like not a shonen.
yeah.
it was a weird one, but even with, some of the adult content in anime and manga, well, manga especially, they don't have the same standards as here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm looking
But
up
he
the
was very
publication.
experienced with it. I can tell, like, something like this would not be considered a shonen of itself.
Right.
It was published in a shonen magazine, though.
Which is weird. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is not a shonen.
But I will say this
Yeah.
though. But the other thing is though with the Wachowskis and with Alita, you had creators involved that were clearly fans who wanted to bring this through and knew the source material, knew when to make changes, knew when not to. And you had directors involved that were the same way. Then there are some cases where, like Death Note, where
that was just the cash in.
or Cowboy Bebop. Now, Cowboy Bebop is, I would say you had a director who at least was trying to do it, but the writing, nothing.
That whole Netflix thing just didn't click. What really
It didn't.
amused me about the Cowboy Bebop Netflix series was how cheap it looked.
Oh, yeah. But at the same time, though, it kind of had that type of look. Like, you could tell they were trying with what they had, again, from the directing. Just from the directing. I'm not talking about casting. I'm not talking about writing. Just the directing. You could tell he was trying.
Mm-hmm.
But the writing felt like I'm higher than now.
Yeah.
I'm higher than the source material.
Yeah.
And that's Chris Yost, the guy who also did Sword Dark World, but also co-created X-23, co-created X-23.
Even X-23, though, it's kind of
Better than Wolverine.
Well, yeah, this is when I start going, there's a lot of male creators putting in better than you female Marvel characters and getting away with it more than, when it's seen as, I don't know, when it's seen as for women.
True. Now, I think the one advantage X-23 had was because she first appeared, even though she was created for the comics ahead of time because of delays, her first appearance ended up being X-Men Evolution.
Yeah. Yeah, but also, I mean, she's crazy violent and they can make cool montages with her. And so I think people.
Then you have her in Logan, which really helped.
Yeah, and that was what I was thinking of. They used her well. The little girl who played her was very good.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get too much into the backstory in Logan, which I think
they were
was
focusing more on Logan.
Yeah, and that's the thing. She doesn't in the comics. She did become a lot. There was an X-23.
Well, now she's Wolverine, and Tom Taylor's going to keep on saying, "Oh, she's the real Wolverine." Logan's just borrowing the name.
We've already been through that once with Thor. We know it's not true.
That's a weird thing to say.
Well, to be fair, it started out because you had the haters doing it, and Tom decided to embrace it and mock him with it. But now it's kind of become what he really believes now.
I don't get it. I don't know why people can't. Well, I know why. I shouldn't say I don't know why. Because launching new books is hard. Launching original characters is hard. But can we please have some female characters in something that aren't a legacy character from a dude?
All right. Now, to be fair, when Lady Thor did it, you can tell Jason Aaron initially had a plan, which I give him props that at least he did it with an idea in mind.
Yes,
others who followed suit, and even with Captain Marvel, it's been more of a female name than it's been a male name, not counting Shazam. I mean, I'm talking at Marvel, it's been more associated with females than males.
Captain Marvel's best known for being in a coma.
I'm talking about the name. So you have the time when Monica had the name too.
Yeah. But I mean that's the lone example the movie just wasn't.
Then they had to make Marvel a chick as well. And I'm like, that throws out everything. You can never bring Jenna's Val. You can never bring Viola Val into this now.
Okay, talk about an adaptation that just didn't work. It made a lot of money, but that's because people.
I gotta say it. Oh, but Liana, that was Disney buying their own tickets to fake the numbers.
No,
I thought it was from the Captain Marvel donation thing for little girls to see the movie.
No, people just wanted a tide over between Thanos 1 and Thanos 2.
It was a brilliant maneuver. It was a brilliant move to put it in. Even though I gotta say, my biggest problem has always been, so that's how Fury got his eye. Wait, so when he said the last time I trust the person I lost an eye was talking about the cat?
Yep. Well, yep.
What?
Yeah, I mean, okay. Samuel Jackson was a highlight in that movie. I thought he was having a lot of fun with it.
Oh, but boy, Carol was just a slaw. And little Monica was also a highlight.
Yes, when
she wasn't shilling Carol, I mean.
There is a situation where I would prefer Monica Rambeau be Captain Marvel going forward, just because she's so much more interesting. And in WandaVision, you got to see her and give a shit about her and have some basic idea of what was going on.
But then at the very end, she barely knew Wanda, and then she still said, Oh, you were not at fault. You're a good person. Like, bitch, you hardly know her.
That final episode was all a reshoot. That was terrible. That last episode.
Yeah, well, the rumors are true. Apparently, she's going to be more of the villain of Multiverse of Madness.
She better be more the villain. I am not happy with that end credit scene.
Yeah, her
but I
having
mean,
the dark hole.
See, that was an adaptation. WandaVision was an adaptation to me that tried to do too many things at once. And you know, I want to hope that
There's
they're
another
building up.
adaptation. That's when you shove too much of an adaptation in.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to combine like
the Stephen Englehart stuff and
Yep.
House of M.
Yeah, and they're really not compatible.
They're not at all.
Plus, this sort of media meta thing, it was a lot at once.
Yep. Now, I do think that the Falcon Winter Soldier thing did add its elements because it had some good compatible stories. I think Captain America has more compatible stories when you add in the Captain alongside with the Falcon Cap stuff.
Yeah, can we call that an adaptation?
Well, the Captain stuff,
story, yes. Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was right down to the end of it.
But that kind of felt, I guess, yes, it is an adaptation of the U.S. Agent storyline, but
that's why I called it the Captain, because that was the Captain story arc.
Yeah, it just, I don't know.
There's no Steve, without Steve in it.
Right. Like it was sort of inspired by that, but I guess it's an adaptation.
And now Loki was its own thing. Loki was entirely its own. I know you don't care for Loki.
His name's on the show, and it wasn't about him. That was one that, what were they doing?
It was more about Lady Loki.
It wasn't Lady Loki, though. Lady Loki looks like Sif. Lady Loki, I could have tolerated. That was a weird.
Well, I wonder if her looking like Sif was intentional, since in the original Lady Loki, it was Loki possessing Sif.
No, Sylvie is Enchantress too, who was originally a construct that Loki made, not a version of him that Lady Loki would have been fucking balling. Like, oh my god, that could have been. I mean, the whole thing about.
No, that's the case where they went so far off the rails, but they struck it just because it's the character and they're able to get away with it.
No, they're trying to fangirl it, and they're trying to redeem him by torturing him, and I don't know what the fuck that was. That was so another too many ideas. But the woman they cast to play Loki was Sylvie was totally miscast. Not the character on paper at all. I didn't buy it for a second. I don't know why.
The only one that worked was what's his name? He was the one who actually wore Loki's outfit.
What's his name? I know you're
I didn't say old Loki and Gator Loki.
Okay, that episode was amazing, and that's what
President Loki.
I wanted to see that I'm in hell. Like, you have to It's a Wonderful Life him. You have to A Christmas Carol him. You can't have him be redeemed through, I don't know what the fuck that was. That was not love.
Right.
Like it was just.
I mean, look, I understand his redemption to a point of seeing what happened in a world, in the actual timeline, kind of waking him up a little bit. I kind of get that.
Okay,
but it's not entirely the same thing, though. I said I get it to an extent. Richard Grant.
Yeah. Loki is actually a victim of creator abuse. Loki is not evil. He had no choices.
Exactly.
And so the whole show is punishing him and torturing him, literally kicking him in the balls over and over and over and over and over again. And yet, if he had done anything but what he did, he would have been pruned from the timeline. So it's not his fault. Can we please just call that out for what it is? Why
that's the only show that's getting a second season?
I think because they have further, I don't know, maybe they want to fix it. It did very well.
But some of the others have done well, but they're still saying done in one.
Well, I think with Hawkeye,
WandaVision, Wanda is obvious.
Yeah, well, she's going into movies. Moon Knight, they don't have him under contract.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do not have Oscar Isaacs under contract. He didn't want the golden handcuff, and so
Which
he
I
said,
understand. Which I understand. I think he decided probably like, let's wait and see how people react to it beforehand.
Speaking of what a wonderful adaptation that one is.
Oh yeah, that's a case where you take bits and pieces, but from other adaptations. But I think because he's had such many different runs, you can pick and choose.
You know what I liked about it is choosing to start on an alt personality.
Yeah.
Not starting with blanking on all the names now. Mark Spector, not starting on him, starting on Steven. I thought that was a good way to make Stephen Grant. Now they've changed Stephen Grant. They made Stephen Grant more like Jake Lockley, which is sort of interesting. But the fact
that's something the fans are going to nitpick about, not the people who are actually watching it.
Shoot, I stepped away. Are we talking about
Moon Knight?
Moon Knight.
Oh yeah.
I will defend what they did with Stephen Grant though, because now they're in a box of having to depict a mental illness that professionals can't agree is real in a fictionalized setting and actually make it seem like not a good thing to have. And starting with the everyman, working class British accent. And he's just, so what is going on? You feel the terror of disassociation. And then when it becomes this silly romp, it's ridiculous, and Khonshu's deliberately like cheesy, like stop action Ray Harryhausen type at moments, but then it gets so dramatic in like that trial scene, and you're yelling at the screen like, oh my god, this is so unfair, and something that is absolutely absurd. That is what I want from a comic book adaptation.
Yeah.
Where
you basically utilize the source to tell something that's intriguing. You can be as close or as far off as you can, but as long as you still respect the heart. It's like Spider-Man. I feel all those adaptations are valid. I do not think it's one of those cases where it's like only
even the
one
Japanese one.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm talking about the movies.
See, I didn't click with the movies of Spider-Man until the Tom Holland films. And that was probably because it was more what was originally the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. But I just thought they got so many things. They finally weren't trying to be, I don't know. It just felt like all of a sudden they were just telling a story instead of, oh, we have to hit these beats with Spider-Man, right? Whereas I thought the Andrew Garfield film suffered from doing the death of Gwen Stacy way too fast.
Way too fast, especially when people loved, especially when Emma Stone was beloved.
Really stupid, really, really, really
always
stupid.
Do it at the third movie.
Oh, well, don't do it.
At least and I that when you have the first movie wasted, like of the Raimi movies, waste that with MJ and not even go pull the trigger on it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, the again, we compare with Batman 89 with the first Raimi film. There were a lot of compromises. People loved it. I didn't like it.
And Raimi had a lot of compromise, but it felt much closer to the source material than even X-Men did.
Oh, hands down, yes. Okay, not going to argue with you there. I was not
agree.
a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I love the X-Men movies. I do love the X-Men movies, but at the same time, no. But I take them as their own thing. But as far as them being true adaptations, besides Wolverine, not really. And Magneto, and Xavier. Those three are the only ones that felt close.
That even Magneto wasn't right in any of those movies.
In the way he wrote, but the way Ian actually portrayed him, I think he could have done a great job.
He didn't have the anger that you need for
True. This felt more like Magneto after he became good turning bad. That's what it felt like. It felt like he was more of the restrained Magneto that went back, that fell off the wagon.
Yeah, I mean Magneto,
Which
because
fits it. This was the alternate, the rewritten timeline, but not the original timeline.
they could do a really now I'm how I would writing it. Apologies, but people may find this interesting. We live in an interesting time where we could do an interesting allegory with Magneto and Xavier
Mhm.
because Magneto is in the comics a mutant supremacist. He actually calls them Homo
Oh yeah,
superior.
Homo superiors.
Yeah, he actually believes, sorry humans, your time's done. It's the dawn of mutants
Which is
now.
ironic, of course, given his upbringing.
Well, but that's why it works, and they will not lean into Magneto's
Oh,
Jewishness
I got
because
I got to ask you this: do you think you can make, if you want to still keep his pack story, could they, without totally reworking the character, could they make Magneto black?
well, yes and no. It would be too on the nose because obviously the Magneto Xavier
Mm-mm.
story is heavily inspired by Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, right
Not
down to
not,
the
ori- not
Brotherhood of
not
Mutants.
originally when
No, but it's
Stan.
become that.
But oh yeah, it's become that. But if you tell anyone that, they say it was different in the beginning, with like, look at the first issue. There is no Malcolm X or Martin Luther King in that first issue. Especially like, wait, if it was in the first issue, what does that say about MLK when Xavier wanted to secretly bang Jean, but felt he couldn't because he was a cripple?
Well, if you knew anything about MLK, that tracks. But
Well, you know what I mean. The
yeah, that is where you start getting dicey, and I think that you could actually do more with Magneto's mutant supremacy if you actually showed how hurt people. And I
oh, and it
mean,
becomes a cycle. Yes, but
yeah, and he's just like, why
you
should
would
I
have to
care?
but I think though you would have to completely overhaul the character to the point where he wouldn't even be the character anymore.
Oh no, I think you could do straight up Magneto. If you go back and watch that X-Men cartoon with one of the greatest cartoon theme songs
Oh,
ever,
ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum,
The
ba-dum,
Japanese one,
ba-dum.
you mean?
no, the
Ah, na
da-na-na-na-na-na,
na 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 na
da-na-na-na-na-na.
na. I'll be
Yeah,
honest,
that one.
because of
See?
that,
Na-na-na. So good. So
to
good.
be honest, it's because of that show that I am such a huge fan of Jubilee, because of her being the audience surrogate at first,
Right.
and Allison Court did an amazing job.
What you do now is you put Magneto in Ukraine, boom, problem solved. I mean, because you make if you made Magneto, they do something like what are the Slokovia or something like that. I don't know how they're going to do it, but
Yeah.
they
Oh,
got to get Magneto right.
I think Michael Fassbender did a. I think he really had the anger. I think.
He asses up so many adaptations just by existing. Like the Assassin's
Oh,
Creed movie was probably worse for him being involved in it.
true, but him as Magneto, though, I think he's
Eh.
gotten it.
I didn't love other than Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique, I didn't love that whole first class casting.
Although I gotta say, you know what my favorite scene in the first movie was? Hello, I'm Charles Xavier. This is Eric Lencher. Fuck off.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that's not. I am very wedded to core concepts. There are certain core things
Oh right,
to comic book characters that have to, because these are all handoffs, right? What's cool about comics is one person tells a story and then another person tells a story and then another person tells a story and it's all canon,
right.
right? It's why I get angry at the whole, I'm going to say the dreaded Mary Sue. Mary Sue is a fan fiction term. When we are dealing with licensed stuff, it is not fan fiction, it is licensed stuff. The problem is now movies and television
That's why.
shows are
That's
being
why you have
developed
the
like
phrase.
comic books.
Now that's why you have
What
the phrase
about
called
Gary
canon
Sue?
sue. I'm just saying that's why you have the phrase canon sue now.
Yeah, but no, throw it out. Bad writing's bad writing. That's all we have to call it. But that handoff is something I've always found really interesting because when a creator does it well, they go, yes, and not, I'm going to spend 4 issues undoing everything you did. Right. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think
Oh, like the end of Morrison's run,
of X-Men, yeah, shining example.
or
Yeah.
or Jason. Now at least Jason Aaron, he undid the damage he did with She-Hulk so that Rainbow Rowell can use it. But the fact that it was just now made very clear. I don't know if you watch Comics by Perch, but he did a video right that made it clear. You know where the whole She-Hulk, we're gonna make her roid out and hate being sexy was? You know where that came from? It came from David S. Goyer's dumbass She-Hulk is a porn star who wanted to have sex with Bruce line. So it's because of David S. Goyer, we had how many years of Jen actually saying, I hated being objectified. I never felt sexy as She-Hulk. When
I
they're going
wanted
against
to be
everything about the character.
ugly.
See, I
Yeah.
always thought if a woman's gonna Hulk out, that's gonna be part of it, right?
What,
It's
did
not
they...
gonna be the same thing. I mean, okay, see, again, you go to the core of the character and you can
And the
understand
character
why that's
was... No,
wrong.
but here's the thing. When you look at Jen, Jen is the type of girl who... Oh, she's not a bad looker, but she always felt so meek, quiet, and all that stuff. But when she's She-Hulk, she is, loud and
Yeah,
feels
but
more confident.
the dichotomy that Alan Moore established in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with this sort of adventure stuff is men fight, women fuck. And so if the Hulk fights, then She-Hulk being all bring it works, right?
Exactly.
In literary tradition. But unfortunately, you have so many people coming in and saying, like, I'm a male writer comes in on Loki and it's like, I'm going to create this female Loki that I can totally control and make her better than him in every way and devote an entire episode to her origin, even though the show is
Bianca, what's
called
that
Loki.
beeping noise? What's that beeping noise in the background, Bianca?
I'm trying to find out.
Okay, that's the thought police coming from me. But yeah, it's like they take this and ego gets in there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
really good. The late Darwin Cook spoke very eloquently about this, that you are playing with characters someone else created.
Oh, yeah.
And
Now, people
you-
then want to use that and twist it when they bring about the Batwoman stuff, when in actuality, that was always a separate character. That was made clear. That wasn't the original Cassie Kane.
Oh God, no, there was nothing.
Yeah, but people used because they asked him, "What about Batwoman?" Now he didn't know; he wasn't paying attention. But unfortunately, people want to twist that, saying, "See, he hated Batwoman being gay. He hated it." It's like, no, he was under the assumption of the question. He thought he was being asked, "What if they made her straight Batwoman gay?" When they didn't even do that.
Okay, but the original Kathy Kane was a nothing burger, right?
Oh yeah, Morris at least did something with her, making her a secret agent who married into the Kanes so she can try and do her spy work.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a lot of the Doom Patrol characters, they were nothing burgers until they got...
No, Morrison again reworked a bunch of them, and then John Byrne tried to do what he did, but then Keith Giffen took them and made them. He took what Morrison was doing, but then added it to the original.
Moon Knight was a Batman ripoff initially. Characters evolve; they find their feet. You're not gonna have a Girl Friday with a utility purse in current year, right? I mean,
it's why with both Mark Waid's Doctor Doom and Morrison's Magneto, both of them derailed the characters because they were focused on how they first appeared and just ignored all their development that they had. Ironically enough, both by John Byrne.
Some would argue that Doom needs a reset.
True, but you know what Mark Waid did, right? Basically, he killed his love and then turned her skin into a leather suit for his magic. All because Mark Waid felt like Doom, if it meant to get after Richards, he would kill his mother. I'm like, no, it's been made clear he wants to save his mother.
Yeah, I disagree with that take on Doctor Doom. The thing I like about Doctor Doom is that he is a villain. The way I would write him for a movie is he is a villain that actually can be reasoned with. That's what made Immortus / Kang / The One Who Remains so good in that one fucking scene that was gold, right?
Yeah.
He just seems like a guy who's fucking done, and that's exactly what he was supposed to be. And it's like...
Oh, funny we talk about She-Hulk. I gotta show you one thing.
Jonathan, what's that actor's name? I always get it wrong. I confuse him with another Jonathan. Majors? The guy who played Kang, the guy who is playing Kang.
Oh, right. Well, hold on. Funny enough with She-Hulk, can I show you a good example of where she worked?
Yeah.
You ever heard about the cartoon Fantastic Four World's Greatest Heroes?
Yes.
The way they did She-Hulk and when that was amazing. Now, there's going to be, unfortunately, some foreign subtitles, but it is in English.
Okay.
All right.
Wait, what?
He's playing a clip.
Oh,
Hey, I got his
you said
name
there was
right.
some foreign stuff, and I'm like, what foreign stuff?
No, there's just subtitles. All right.
Oh,
Uh,
this is gonna be about her transformation, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, my favorite part. I only watched that show just for the She-Hulk. I only watched that She-Hulk episode. I didn't watch anything else.
Okay. Get it?
You're not sharing
Sorry,
the
guys.
screen.
Restream takes some time with this.
Yep. Sorry.
Running video is fiddly.
That's your magic briefcase!
No, it's actually a normal briefcase.
Alright, fine, show me what you got, but it better be cool!
Oh, talk about something there's never been a good adaptation. Fantastic Four. See, this is an interesting combination of sources. Yeah.
How's this?
It's kind of a monster transform, kind of a magical girl, right?
Yeah. Oh, and then I love,
Yeah, the Hulk's my cousin.
It's good enough for me. Do you mind letting me down? Back to you.
I didn't love this part.
My favorite part too.
My hero.
This is cool.
No, she there was a part where she was talking about nails.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we run too much of it, we're gonna get a content strike.
Oh, you're right. Oh wait, this ice bed.
Guy, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bed. Like, don't make me angry, big guy.
See,
But-
that's my thing about She-Hulk and Hulk. The current thing where she's got to just be female Banner, right? That doesn't understand where the Hulk comes from in Banner, right?
My thing is, you know who co-wrote this episode? Dan Slott, who was writing her at the time, and it tells you he gets Jen much better than he does any other character because his run was incredible.
Yeah. No, but I mean, think about it though, right? Like Bruce Banner, the Hulk, Grey Hulk,
Grey Hulk, Joe Fixit, Grey
Joe
Hulk.
Fixit, that's the name, right? But that happened because his father was abusive and he saw his father kill his mother.
Well,
right?
yeah, and then basically Grey Hulk represents his more lustful but aggressive side, and Green Hulk represents his rage and everything. But he's still the mind of a child because, in a way, much like Batman when he saw his parents die, Bruce kind of became stunted as a child.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have that same triggering event with She-Hulk, so why shouldn't she have that different
Which is, again, that's exact. And the funny thing is, though, technically Dan Slott is the first person to actually do much with Jen herself because Byrne basically made her be stuck as She-Hulk, and everyone else been using She-Hulk until Jeff Johns brought back Jen finally during his Avengers run, and then Dan Slott decided to explain it all and say, oh, it wasn't because she was literally stuck in the form. She never wanted to be She-Hulk and be Jen again. The only time she did was after she was driven crazy and destroyed a place, and for the first time, Jen wanted to stop being She-Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, which makes sense, right? Because who would want to be a regular woman when you can have so much more freedom?
Oh yeah, exactly. The fact that the very first issue, she's dating she's banging an underwear model, and then she wakes up realizing, oh crap, it happened again. I'm going to get the same look of, hey, I went to bed with She-Hulk. Why am I waking up to this girl?
Right. Yeah, I mean...
And the funny thing is also, near the end of it, he basically had this whole list of the people. Like, they went for hours of just listing all the people and then going over all the people She-Hulk banged. But when it asked how many has Jen slept with, 3.
Right. And yet, when it's Jessica Jones, suddenly that's fine to have a similar thing. Because what's the difference? Because with She-Hulk, it's a choice She-Hulk makes. With Jessica Jones, it's proof she's miserable and self-destructive, and that's why they let it through.
Now, I am at least grateful for the Disney Plus show is bringing us back. It's the reason why we're getting sexy She-Hulk again. It's because they know they want to go with the John Byrne, Dan Slott one because that's what people want. So you got to get props for Disney for that.
That's also what women want to see in their entertainment. I think women are really sick and tired of... I mean, look at Black Widow 2, Yelena. People love her because she's brassy and she
Hey, Ominous.
Hey, Ominous. you know, just doesn't give a fuck, and everybody loves her for that. People are
Exactly.
tired of bland female characters in these
Bland
movies.
female characters who are just overpowered and godsus like Captain Marvel.
You
It
know
was
what?
one of the worst climaxes because she was so boringly invincible.
I don't know, because Alita got really overpowered by the end of her movie, but you gave a shit. She had a character. You knew what she was fighting for, right?
And even then, though, she was still struggling at least. You never saw Carol struggle at all during her I'm just a girl bit.
Luisa.
Well, Luisa from Encanto. Yeah, well, okay, Bianca speaking my language, right? It's like Encanto, good. Yes, just give Luisa her own show. Thank you, Luisa and the Donkeys. There must be a musical number with twerking donkeys in every episode of the Luisa show.
Yeah, I mean, now of course, hey, if you want to go bring up anything like that, you want a case of a person being so overpowered in a bad way, Ming from Turning Red.
Oh, I love that movie, but that's not an adaptation, so it's off topic.
No. Well, neither is Encanto.
That's true.
That's true. Well,
I just said it because of the strong female trope.
I know.
would argue that Encanto is Gabriel Garcia Marquez for kids, which is no longer Gabriel Garcia Marquez, because there's a lot of weird incest rape shit in those stories. But it's magic.
See the what's it called? There was a lot of deleted stuff of what it was supposed to be originally.
Yeah.
And I was extremely shocked. I was grossed out, to be honest.
Yeah.
They even had to make out noises, and I'm like, ew, gross.
Well, I'll say this quickly, but let's go to another example of an adaptation that also worked. Well, the first one worked decently, but the second one's where it knocked out apart, and that's Sonic.
I have not seen those movies.
Oh, the first one.
Teeth.
What, Bianca?
I still need to see them.
Well, I'm not. Then I won't spoil them. Okay, no
I
one
already
spoil.
saw your review, so.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it's fantastic.
Oh, it is, and it takes elements from the second and third game and combines it, and yet still keeps it continuing from the first movie.
Isn't Idris Elba like Knuckles?
He's Knuckles.
Or something
He's Knuckles,
like
and he nails it. Man. And he nails it. He's one of those cases of a celebrity actor that you think, oh, they're just brought in for name recognition, but like, no, he really gets it. Especially the way that I'll say this. Minor spoiler, but it's only more of a describing of the character. When they first introduce him, there's no fish out of water. He is a badass when we're first introduced him. And we get that sense he's a badass. Mm-hmm. It's after his first fight with Sonic and he's having to deal with the rest of the world that we start to get the comedy in from him being a fish out of water, but Elba does not. Still continues on with being the character we were first introduced to. And I think that helps sell it. If they had introduced him being a complete goofball and then making the badass and go back to being goofball, you would have had this whole, they can't make up the mind about the character. Doing it first and then change it is where it works.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say the same balance, really zigzagging here, with the Peacemaker series. The way they adapted that character, I mean, they didn't shy away from, the character's original father was a guard in a concentration camp.
Yep. I gotta say this for a second. Like Kiki Ray. Yeah, they are fans. In fact, the writers have openly admitted in an interview they were clearly hired on because they were cheap. They openly admitted it. They openly admit they were. It's one of those cases where they lucked down getting a cheap writer that were fans, and that's why they didn't care. So they just let them all put. Oh yeah, slipping in Sonic. They put Sonic in the first movie. You know what that is? That little.
That's the way you can make a movie for kids, but for the people who grew up with the games, throw that stuff in. The kids just see everybody laughing. They know it's funny. They laugh along. It's here. It's gone. That's the way to thread that needle.
Exactly. But like I said, but that's a case of, and I realize we completely avoided it, and I think for good reason, Death Note. Just look at how that adaptation went and how it just didn't seem to get the source material.
The live action or the manga to anime?
The live action.
Because even the anime started faltering because back then they didn't expect it to go that long initially.
Oh yeah. We want to talk about a manga to anime adaptation. Alita itself, the OVA creator hated it, and yet fans of it keep on saying it is the best adaptation. The movie is nothing like it, but it's like the creator loves the movie. He does not like the OVA, and I think he only tolerates some of the OVA elements they added to the movie because he's like, well, it works for the story.
they sort of amalgamated a bunch of things.
Oh
that
yeah,
way,
like
and
what's her name? Jennifer Connelly's character.
Yeah, even as is, they could the main villain of the comic gets like the thing at the end, and that's it. I mean,
Oh, Ed Norton, what a waste of a good actor doing
there
that
was
role. That he was
there
Nova. He was
a ton
Nova.
to stuff in. Yeah, but there was a ton to stuff in, right? And they couldn't get everything, and
Oh yeah,
they,
but they just adapted the first two mangas, combined them together, but then set it up very nicely. And I gotta say, the ending is both sequel baiting, but it also it could end right there, which it looks like it's going to, because so long as Disney. And now, sad thing is, Robert Rodriguez has gone on record recently saying, "Oh, if Book of Boba Fett works, maybe I could convince Disney to do it."
you know what, Alita might do better as a
Disney Plus.
as a series. I think that with comic book adaptations, it's actually better, and manga, to do it
Oh
as
yeah,
a series.
because you have the big gap between installments.
Well, it's not just that, it's that it's serialized, right?
Yeah.
Like with Attack on Titan, even with the stuff they mucked around with and collapsed, at least they're now doing one episode per chapter.
Exactly.
Right? Whereas with a Death Note movie, you have to tell a 2-hour story, and Death Note is just not structured that way.
No,
mangas aren't. They're not structured that way, and so you have to cut and amalgamate.
With some exceptions, like if you did a Case Closed, that one could be done episodic, because let's be honest, there's hardly any lore episodes in that series.
Right. But I mean,
Detective Conan,
and that's an issue that you don't get with Western comics now, because everything's the graphic novel format. It's 4 to 6 issue arcs, and so yeah,
and then you have alternate realities you can pick from too. Again, the Batman took so much from Earth 1.
Yeah, you can do a screenplay based on 120 comic pages, right? Like that's not. You can put in your action sequences and stretch it out and have the 3 endings that are apparently necessary for Batman movies nowadays. I don't know why.
Oh, here's the other problem when you have a movie. You are almost kind of being tricked into doing a trilogy where you're going to then end it by the 3rd one.
See, I don't get that. Make a good movie and then make another
Captain America's the only
movie.
exception. Captain America's the only exception where each of those movies were just Avengers 0.5, 1.5, 2.5.
Well, no, the first Captain America movie is actually one of my favorite.
Oh no, but that's why I said Avengers 0.5, because it's a prequel technically.
They just the MCU struggled with their sequels on though I do think that was it Winter Soldier that they finally figured out who Natasha Romanoff was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because especially when she's trying to hook Steve up with like, oh, I just take out the one guy, and it's like, oh, what about what's her name? And
that
was
it. That was the scene. That's who she was. I loved it.
I love that. Just that whole bit where they kick ass, and she's like, oh, what about her and resources? Nah.
Yeah.
I love that. Just how right then and there she does, like they're picking up their conversation from beforehand, and it's like,
she acted vaguely Eastern European in that moment, as opposed to like
that too. And again, it felt like a comic book moment.
Yes, yeah, it did.
I've realized about Joss Whedon, he's almost disgraced about wanting to make this a comic adaptation. He wanted to make a Joss Whedon adaptation, but not fit the comics.
That he has one lane. He has no concept.
I think he lucked out with the first one. I think the first movie, he lucked out by comparison, because there was so much setup. But when he actually had to do one on his own with the second one, he just I still have my problem with that second one.
Anything that ruins Loki from the original Kenneth Branagh movie.
Oh yeah, especially calling Black Widow a whore.
No, that's not what he called her.
Oh no, you're right.
I'm not going to repeat what he called her. I just imagine like Frigga coming up and smacking him sideways on the head in that moment. I know people argue with me on that. He would not friggin' do that. That is an example of just.
Oh, and then the moment with the old Holocaust survivors saying and all that stuff. Again, badass moment in a bubble, but what it does to the character just makes it be like, oh, so he's as bad as Hitler.
Yeah, why do you have to make a character who is already a Norse god into?
Oh, someone else already. Someone said it. Someone said it in the chat.
That actually isn't the word, and I'm not going to repeat the word.
All right.
It's basically dropping a C-bomb, and nobody knew what that word was, and I was in the movie. It's like, he did not just say that.
Oh, someone else.
Never heard of this word.
We're not going to say it. We're not going to say it.
It is the Britishism for see you next Tuesday. And I was like,
What?
what? Yeah, it has no business in a PG-13 movie.
It feels
business.
like it just feels like and then that the fact that then Joss Whedon decided to now. Do you believe him when he said that that he didn't want to kill off Agent Coulson because he knows what people?
No, he wanted to kill him.
Oh, you think so? You think he was just covering his ass?
He wanted to kill him. There was another way to get the Avengers to assemble. Joss Whedon's a
But he keeps on saying that everyone. I was like, guys, you know my reputation. People are gonna think this was my idea.
No, he was probably fine with it. The thing Joss Whedon fucked up for the entire franchise is the Infinity Stones.
Oh, good God, yes. First of all, I have not liked. Now, can I say one thing that I will blame James Gunn for that bothers me? It's that because of him, they had a whole other Adam Warlock that he was never involved in the Infinity stuff to deal with Thanos.
What?
Remember, because he had first dibs on Adam Warlock. But because of that, they never brought him in through that we never had Adam Warlock had to deal with Thanos.
See, I didn't like the whole Infinity War adaptation. I actually thought pulling the Malthusian paradox instead of... I was stoked for Death. I was stoked for Lady Death.
Yeah.
I'm like, this
agree.
is going to be so great.
I was wondering who are they going to pick to play Death?
Yeah.
It has to be someone that is both can portray this oldness, but at the same time you realize, Deadpool would want to fuck her.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did it with Hela and Pete, already, so I'm like, who are they going to get?
That is something Jason Aaron actually implied, that saying that Hela was one of the other people that Thanos was falling for, because she was also an embodiment of death.
Yeah, I mean, have that. The whole thing about resources, I mean, the What If show,
I think they were trying to make him more noble.
Out of it. They thought it, I think, was too silly, and
probably made him a simp, I bet you, in their eyes.
You think they care about that?
Maybe not.
Oh, Helena Bonham Carter, yes, Evangelion.
Oh, yes!
Excellent Lady Death.
You would have been, yes. Oh, good God, especially, and the fact is, again, she doesn't have to say a word. She does not have to say a word because Death almost never speaks.
Yeah, exactly. That
and the only time when she does speak, it's what makes it important. Important. You're just like,
it's like Sephiroth's mother in the original Final Fantasy, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's just a presence. Yeah.
And I love it that even Keith Giffen played up on that, where after Jim Starlin had Death speak to Thanos finally, he then had her talk a big thing. And I love how it's like, you came for the view. Now you speak. Now I have something to say. And eventually, by the end of it, she says, I have always loved you, Thanos of Titan, to the best I am able. Learn how to love me. I assure you, I am worth the effort.
Mm-hmm.
And he just smirks. He's like, good to know.
Mm-hmm. Like, yes, it's silly, but so is what they put.
Oh, but the funny thing was, how she was drawn? In the body of a little girl. But he said, like, must you suck in that skin? Does it disturb you that this body talks about things like want and desire? Very. Lesson learned, Thanos of Titan. Right. I am death. I am not comfort.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like,
there was
Keith Giffen is one of the few people that understands death, Mistress Death.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know.
Oh no, Tavia, she does care for Thanos.
But she's deaf. Her idea of caring is different. She cares, so she's training him. She's preparing him.
Like it says right there. I have always loved you. Learn how to love me. Because again, it's like, why did you? She even said to him, "You offered me death. Why would you offer me something that I'm already given?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there were some interesting moments with an inherent.
Someone else said Tilda Swinton could have been. Yeah, she could have worked if she wasn't already. And I will at least give Kevin Feige this. At least they acknowledged they fucked up with that one.
What?
With not the Grandmaster. Doctor Strange's man, the Ancient One. I do give them props. At least they have admitted.
It's interesting to me that people don't give them more shit for that was a legitimate not wanting to offend China move.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Ancient One is originally Tibetan.
And before
they didn't want to
China
go there. Yeah, they didn't want to go there, and everybody screams about other things about China, cutting gay scenes for China. I have less problem with that than them straight up just changing characters because they don't want to offend the Chinese market, and it made no sense. Why
Hey
is
guys,
an
yeah,
ancient Irish woman, running?
whitewashing. Exactly, Hominid. That's whitewashing.
Yeah,
And
it is
you know,
whitewashing.
you want to know another example I always give of whitewashing, and I pointed out in a lot of Tristan's streams. Jinx from Teen Titans, the cartoon. She's like bald, black. She's like or Indian. She's Indian or
Right.
something like that. But they made her gray, possibly white skin, and gave her hair and everything. Doesn't look anything like it. But unfortunately, that's the version people think about Jinx these days. That when they see Jinx, they're like, "What the heck's this bald chick?"
Yeah,
That's me.
yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's
I didn't
interesting.
know. I thought she was an
Yeah,
original.
Tavia, Jinx from Teen Titans. In fact, I'll get an image. Hold on.
Yeah, it's funny that people forget that one, and people forget that they, did I mean, it's funny because they're going back and fixing all of it, right? They fixed the Mandarin. They fixed
Oh yeah, but the Mandarin they already had set up for the fix it.
well, they had to do that in Shang-Chi, right? But
Well,
then
no. They did that beforehand. Remember, they did one of their shorts that ended up being on the Blu-ray for Iron Man, where the guy, the fake,
I
yeah,
didn't see that until
yeah,
the week
they
when
actually,
Shang-Chi came out. Okay, I
yeah,
thought
they
that was
actually,
tie-in.
no, that was during Iron Man 3, and turned out that was actually Shane Black said that was the intent.
Yeah, I just thought that the whole movie, I was going, why bother using this character if you're not going to make him the character, right? And then they finally make Wong the Sorcerer Supreme in one line in
I know,
Spider-Man.
and it made sense, made sense, like he says, it's a loophole.
Okay, but it's not a loophole, and that's what I loved about the line, because it's Doctor Strange being the dick. It's not a loophole. Doctor Strange came up with the idea of the snap.
Mm-hmm.
It
was
wasn't a
his.
loophole. It was his idea.
Mm-hmm. Hold on a second. I got the images now. Hold on. So, hold on. So, here is Jinx from the cartoon.
Talk about an original movie that was not a good adaptation, the first Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, here's Jinx from the cartoon.
Yeah.
I did not like the first Doctor Strange movie.
No, it wasn't very good.
But yeah, like I said, there's Jinx from the cartoon, and now here's Jinx from the comics.
I actually got flack for that yesterday for not liking the first Doctor Strange movie.
And the girl and the woman in the front, the bald woman.
Yeah, that's actually Jinx.
Who's the one in the back?
Oh, that actually I don't know who that is. Oh wait, I don't know who that is, but that's not Jinx. Yeah, Jinx is the bald woman.
That one in the back actually looks very similar to the Jinx from the Teen Titans cartoon. They could have made whoever that girl is.
Yeah, but she's not part of the main the Frightful Four, or not Frightful Four, whatever they're called.
Brotherhood or something like that.
Something like that.
The Fearsome Five.
Yeah. But again, that's a clear case of whitewashing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is.
Yeah.
The Fearsome Five. Yeah, Fearsome Five. Yeah.
Yeah, it
or High Five as they were. But yeah, that is, and unfortunately, that's what people more recognize her now.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
if you Google her, most that comes up is the cartoon.
Because she's this gothic looking girl voiced by Lauren Tom.
Yeah, but I mean the design from the comics is so much cooler.
Yeah, but again, people just think about it and they feel like, oh, she'd be banging Kid Flash or Cyborg because of the show.
I don't get it.
I know, but it's like, and this is different than people when they think Green Lantern, they think John Stewart. Completely different. That is a completely different example because that's just people know more of the one version of the cartoon. Hey, Bianca, you're one of those, right? Who thought that? Why did they whitewash Green Lantern when you saw the movie?
Yeah, when the Hal Jordan movie came out, I didn't see the trailer or anything. I just know there was a Green Lantern movie, and I'm like, Dad, we have to go see it. It's a Green Lantern movie. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see Jon Stewart, and then it's Ryan Reynolds. And I'm like, well, where's the black one? And then I came out disappointed.
But that is still different. It's still different because that's still a different Green Lantern. People just were not aware of the other one. Whereas
my dad had to explain it to me. He was like, he was always white.
I still think Jon Stewart is the most interesting modern Green Lantern
Oh.
because he's an architect. You could do the
Well,
coolest
again,
effects
that
in a
was
movie.
got to give Jeff Johns and Grant and Ethan that one. They're the ones who kind of they didn't reveal the architect. They revealed the military side.
Yeah, but I mean the architect stuff.
Not Kyle Rayner.
Kyle Rayner
No,
was an
what?
He's a
artist. Kyle
cartoonist,
Rayner,
yeah.
And
cartoonist,
Jessica Cruz would also be the
she
most
was-
interesting ones.
Oh, but that was the case of
Oh,
Jeff and
man.
Ethan creating them, and I really like Jessica.
Okay, Kyle Rayner had such a rough road for so many years because the Hal Jordan fanboys hated him.
Oh yeah, Heat,
Yeah.
or whatever it was called. But the thing though was that's one thing I love that Jeff Johns did. He could have just killed off Kyle to bring back Hal, but no. He actually had Hal legitimize Kyle by saying, "You will not disrespect him, Sinestro." He held the torch when no one else could.
Yeah.
And then what did Kyle do? And then what did Kyle then do? He then scarred Sinestro with a Green Lantern insignia on his back.
It's like a kick me sign.
So much of that is so much metaphor for what ended
Now,
up
of course,
happening.
I give all that props to Jeff, not Ethan. Ethan would love to take all the credit for it because he has lately. But no, it was Jeff writing it.
Yeah, Jeff Johns doesn't collaborate well.
Yeah. Or, he doesn't. Not even though he's supposedly great buddies with Ethan.
Whenever something is Jeff Johns and anybody else, it's 80% Jeff Johns. I mean, that second Wonder Woman movie was an example of that.
True, and I think he was adding too much of the Donner feel to it.
There were
that was his intent. I mean, that was his intent.
There were a whole bunch of things I think that just Patty Jenkins would not have come up with on her own, and I think it would have been a better movie if she was left alone.
Now, Flashpoint Beyond, I do think that's a case where, again, I think he can collaborate well with other writers. He's shown that. 52.
He's best when he's just on his own. Stargirl, his Justice Society.
But him with artists, though, I think he's great.
Oh, with artists, yes, it's collaborating on story and
again, some exceptions like 52. 52 was phenomenal. The weekly series 52.
Wait, when did Disney do whitewashing? I know they've done race swapping, but when do they do white?
No, what they're talking about again was Tilda Swinton as the ancient one.
As the ancient one.
That is a hypocrisy.
That's when they made her into a bald woman, right?
Yeah, and instead of
we didn't want
a Fu Manchu looking Tibetan monk.
They said we didn't want to do that, and so we did this instead.
That was the cater to.
Just don't make them look like the one in the comic, right?
Nope, because they couldn't have him be Tibetan
Tibetan. Yep.
So they could have him be in Tibet. But they didn't. If they made him Asian, then people would just assumed he was Tibetan.
Well, it wasn't Tibet though. It was, what did they call? I always confuse Nanda Parbat's the DC one.
And from
what something like that.
I show the point is out. People love to give Jeff Johns shit on the Green Lantern movie. From what I understand, Jeff didn't have as much control as people think he had in the Green Lantern movie.
No, not back then.
After looking at the credits with Tristan, I'm like,
he was involved. They took stuff from his story, and at least he made sure they gave him a ring because he always loved to tell the story about he and Richard Donner tried to to pitch it, and they're like, "Does he have to have a ring?" And they just stopped the meeting right there. Like, forget it.
Yeah, I saw more credits with Bertinelli in there.
Yeah, but from what I understand, it was the head of Warner Bros. At the time because he felt like immediately after the movie bombed, he said the reason it bombed was because it wasn't dark and edgy.
No, the reason it bombed is because we're still talking Green Lantern, right?
Yeah, because they sped things up too much. I mean, I say this: they should have kept them in space. They should. Everyone agrees.
That's what I was gonna say. That scene on Oa was amazing.
Oh yeah,
I didn't like the movie or the characterization or even Ryan Reynolds' portrayal because he's just Ryan Reynolds.
Now he had the potential to be Hal. When you look at how Jeff Johns wrote him in Secret Origins, which Ryan Reynolds kept saying was his Bible practically, I think he had the potential. The writing wasn't there. You had the even with Martin Campbell as the director, it didn't save it because you had the executives involved too much. But I will give Reynolds this. He has openly said after he did that live tweeting, rewatching the movie, he's like, maybe I've been too harsh.
I do think it's a little bit more harsh than what people gave it for, especially since this is
No,
my
it was
second time
bad.
watching it in live.
Oh,
But it was definitely bad. Just like
It
I
was
would watch that more than the '90s Catwoman Halle Berry movie. And
but didn't you
Okay.
say otherwise? Wait, didn't you say
Yeah.
otherwise on the bad ideas video?
no, I said
No,
that. I
that
said I
Oh,
would
someone
prefer
else made a
watching the
good
Green
point.
Lantern over the
That Halle Berry movie was
Liam
bad.
Neeson as Ra's al Ghul. Yes, that is whitewashing. What they did was Bane was whitewashing.
Oh, but the Nolan fanboys say that wasn't actually Ra's al Ghul, so it's okay.
It
And I
was
shit
Ra's.
on that. Yeah,
It
no, it
was
wasn't
Ra's.
really him. That's what they say. No, it was.
Then what about then? That means that Talia is not really Talia then.
No, they claim that that Liam Neeson's character was not actually Ra's al Ghul.
They said him
so,
by name.
yeah,
He even said, "I am Ra's al Ghul."
yeah, yeah.
Bane said, "I'm Bane too."
Oh yeah, I am here to continue Ra's al Ghul's destiny.
I do not stand the Nolan films like some people do.
No, the only time it worked was Joker. Joker was the only one that worked.
What, the Joker movie?
No, I'm talking about
The Dark Knight.
and Nolan's Joker.
I didn't like it.
All right.
I didn't
I
like
can definitely
it.
see why somebody wouldn't like it.
Oh yeah, I guess. Oh, someone's bringing up the Powerpuff Girls show.
Yeah, well, that
Thank
didn't
God we
happen,
dodged the
so-
bullet. We dodged the bullet on that one.
See, the thing about the Joker is they've never done a proper Clown Prince of Crime.
Outside the animated.
animated, and I mean, I thought that the
I
Joker standalone movie was interesting because it wasn't that Joker, right? It was something, whatever that was. It was a taxi driver superhero movie. I thought that was
it's
a
going to
great
be
movie.
now.
What?
They said that it's now in the universe, which is why they had Jared Leto
What?
look similar to him.
No, not Jared Leto. Joaquin Phoenix. That
No,
movie.
that's what I'm saying. The reason Jared Leto's Joker looked like that in the movie was because of Joaquin Phoenix. They want him to look similar to that portrayal.
Oh, you mean in the
Joker.
Justice League? You mean the new footage they shot for the Snyder cut? You mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
They
that
said
was
that
just
they
fucking
now want
weird,
it
that part.
in universe, and that it's gonna have a sequel now because it made money.
It can't be set though. It can't.
I know, and that's what I was saying. I'm like, no, don't do this, please. That makes no
I
sense.
think I have a feeling that was something that Snyder said to try and get all of his Snyder bro cult to want to say, see, we like to continue praising Joker because that's in the works and not condemn it.
Okay, here's the thing about Batman and the Joker that I don't feel like they've done in a movie well yet, is that Batman is negative space, Joker is positive space. Joker is supposed to be having fun with things. And
Which again, only the anime version ever got that right.
That's
And
right.
the
What about
60s
the 60s campy
and the
version?
60s. I was going to say the 60s did too, but that was
Yeah.
before they set up the the
Grimdark,
clown prince,
yeah.
the clown prince of crime.
Yeah,
Mm.
but I mean, he's having fun. He's post-positive. Yeah, but
And that's the funny thing as well. The 60 funny thing is when people think about Joker and they think, oh, look at it was the 60s one. Riddler was more like Joker in the 60s, especially Gorshin's. I mean, when you have in the movie a moment where Joker's trying to stop Riddler from doing something stupid, and Riddler's like, oh, but I must. And then he's like, Riddler, you're like, wait, Joker's trying to rein in Riddler? Shouldn't that be the other way around?
Yeah. But Joker is all angles and movement and color and fun, and that's what
Which I think
works.
Nicholson was the closest live action. By comparison, Nicholson is the closest.
No,
Watch
I
his
disagree.
scenes on mute. Watch his scenes on mute. It is Prince's soundtrack that adds all the light to those.
I agree.
I would argue that I would say that moment when he shows up to that mob boss is what and really helped, you know.
But that's where Party Man's playing in the background, and that's the thing that sells it.
Party Man, really? Party Man?
Yeah.
No, that was Elfman's
museum.
music.
No,
No, not the museum. Not the museum. I'm talking about when he's going to the mob boss in his penthouse. When he reveals his face, like, you could call me Joker.
There is a song playing. There's a song playing on the radio in that scene before Elfman's theme kicks in.
I did not like the music choices for that movie, by the way.
It was a weird mix of things, but that scene
Although
where
I will,
they're
I'll
doing
just,
the museum, you watch that on mute. Next
oh
thing
yeah,
he's
oh
like an
yeah,
old man and he's half-assing it. It is that track that makes that scene fun.
fair
Hey,
They
I
enough.
don't know
haven't.
if anybody noticed this, but in Batman Forever, the Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face Riddler, Jim Carrey's Riddler, and Jack Nicholson's
Nicholson.
Joker, they all act alike.
Yeah.
They
Oh
act
yeah.
too
Now
alike, and I hated that.
again, that is why. Well, you gotta blame again Tommy Lee Jones for why Two-Face was that way. He was just doing it to mock Jim.
Yeah, because
He
that's
was.
not Two-Face at all.
I know.
Mhm.
Now, if it would have been, if he had been the straight man, like again, that's the reason why I felt that one scene. Oh, like, what's your point? You know, that whole sequence there was the moment what the whole movie should have been. Dynamics between the two should have been.
I
It
do
would have
agree.
worked.
My problem is with the Riddler too. He acted like too much of Jack Nicholson to me, even though he
No,
was
I
just being
think he was close
himself.
to Gorshin. He was close to Gorshin's Riddler.
It
Who's
was a
Gorshin?
time where Frank Ocean.
That was the
he
that was the
yeah,
that was the that was the '60s Riddler. I
one of
think he
them.
was.
Yeah.
Well, the other one was Ed Aston, I think.
Yeah.
Ed Asner, who that's the one when people get think about the hat and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Jim Carrey is at the time that Batman movie was made, Jim
Well, you're the
Carrey
mask. You're the mask.
he was huge, right? Yeah. So they had him in there playing the Jim Carrey character. And
Right.
that's why the whole Tommy Lee Jones thing, I thought it was such a dick move because that's what people were paying for. That Jim Carrey performance. Jim Carrey went on
I
to
told you
do
that was
much
his
more
ego.
different stuff.
That was
Yeah.
and that was Tommy Lee Jones' ego just deciding I'm going to derail this movie out of protest.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Can I ask you a question? Was the Riddler always a scientist of some sort?
He was
'Cause I'm
never
only
a
going off
scientist.
because he
Wait,
was a
Riddler.
scientist in the movie.
Oh, Riddler. No, he was. In fact, he's always varied. They
Yeah.
always vary.
Yeah.
Some versions, he's a guy who he's a crime scene special, investigator. Other versions, he's just some nobody who
Yeah.
was just too smart for his own good. But that's the other thing. He was already a genius. He didn't need to absorb brain patterns to become a genius.
Yeah.
Which I'm still confused of how that machine worked. Like he got the IQ.
Don't think
and
about
when he
it
got
too
the
hard.
IQ,
Don't think
he
of it.
became
Now, here's
dumb.
a question. If Tim Burton stuck around and if they actually had Robin Williams as Riddler like was originally planned, I think they could have done something well.
Oh, that would have killed.
Mm.
Yeah, I
killed,
think
yeah.
that would have been Robin if they did a darker, like something continuing the fires from Batman Returns, but still lining up a little bit. I think that would have been fantastic, and I think that this would have shown some of Robin's, depth. And funny thing is, there's an interview out there where someone actually asked Robin about not getting the Joker role. And it came out around the time of Mrs. Doubtfire, I think. So you could think he thinks the way he's giving the answer, you could so tell he thought he was still going to be Riddler. You could so tell he thought he was going to be Riddler during that interview, and I just want to be like, I just want to hold my heart like, oh,
Yeah,
Robin.
but he's lucky he wasn't. I mean, that movie was terrible.
Oh well, Tommy, because he was trying to do that because out of protest for Jim being involved because of his ego. Not Jim's ego, Tommy's ego just did not like the type of actor that Jim was.
Which is what people were paying to see at the time.
Exactly. Now, I will also say this: if you heard about some of the plans that Schumacher wanted to do if he had done another Batman movie, right?
Yeah,
He
I've heard
actually
some
wanted
of
to give Batman an arc. And if you really look at there is a slight arc if you follow all four of those movies, a slight arc.
I don't think you can really blame one person for those post-Burton Batman movies.
Oh, I know, but I have to say though, when you look at that scene where Bruce is trying to tell Dick about going, what happens if you get revenge? He's talking about the Joker.
Yeah.
He is clearly talking about saying, like, you think it would be it, but he wouldn't. And then he's talking about Batman Returns, how he went even further off the edge.
Yeah, I mean, I got a question for you guys, just sort of how to thread the needle, because we do exist in this time now where you do have to appease the fan base or you get a lot of noise that I think people would rather avoid. It's just tough on everybody, but you have to make it accessible to people who have never, like my poor mother watching Spider-Man No Way Home, she had no idea who Doctor Strange was. Just no idea. And, how do you thread the needle? How do you make a movie that's accessible to both? Because in order to make the money, you need the fan support. You need those people to go in and say it's amazing. But then people like my mother, who just like Tom Holland, have to be able to go see movies too.
Yeah. I think there's a case where you have to take some losses when you're doing the adaptation.
Yeah.
Like you have to, you're going to tick off some people. Now you shouldn't go all the way out of the way and say let's tick off everyone just so we can cater to the normies.
Yeah, and
I
there's
think
the
some
line, right?
Yeah, what?
There's the line. Where's the
Yeah,
line? Right?
yeah, exactly. And again, I do feel there are some people in Hollywood and in the comics especially who feel like let's piss off these people so we can go for this invisible fan base that we are so certain exists and are going to adore our stuff.
Oh, I agree with you. There is definitely, and when you're in certain rooms, like if you've ever been to some of these pitch meetings or development meetings, you see how it happens.
Oh yeah, they keep on pitching it, saying like, "Oh, there is going to be this audience we guarantee are going to outdo and outnumber the whiny fanboys who are going to be pissed off."
Well, and they also play to the fact that everybody's had a angry fanboy experience and they're not good.
Someone made a good point. The Shazam movie, that was a good approach.
Yeah, and I mean, there's another thing. They changed stuff.
They changed stuff. They took what Jeff Johns came up with, but they made Billy less of an asshole.
Was it left?
I really wished it was pre New 52.
No. Jeff Johns is the one that gave us the family aspect.
But didn't they borrow a lot from Monster Society of Evil in that?
Oh, that was Jeff Smith you're thinking about.
Jeff Smith. I'm sorry.
And they took some elements, but not that much. It was mostly Jeff Johns where they gave the family and everything. And so they brought in the family, but they made Billy much less of an insufferable ass.
Right. Yeah.
And then they totally made original the stuff with his mother or his mother and everything. That was all whole cloth original.
I think the Shazam movie also came down to casting because it was another one. Don't think about it too hard, right? They got people who really embodied the roles, and even Zachary Levi in that muscle suit just worked.
Oh, it did. That muscle suit kind of feels like what a kid would do.
Exactly.
If he got it, he would almost imagine muscle suit almost.
Exactly.
And again, I also love the whole when Superman showed up like, whoa.
Yeah, no, yeah. See, there's an example of they changed some stuff. They did some silly stuff, but they got the heart of the character. And
I think Jeff Johns was involved with that one. I think he was involved with that one. And
I was disappointed because I was looking up the wrong source material before going into the movie.
Oh no! It was made for cheap.
Yeah, I was like looking up the one where he had a twin sister named Mary, and
no. Mary is always there now, but in this version, much like Jeff Johns, they might be related. We don't know if they're related, but they're not twins.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, you can see.
Even Jeff Smith in his version had to be that Mary was a younger sister in that version.
Mm-hmm.
And I was.
Can I tell you something? I always had in my mind, and I actually told Jeff Smith this, because I always sometimes come with my own version of how I handle the characters. I would take some of the elements from Jeff Smith, like how he had Talkie Tawny, the tiger, also be an old man. And I told Jeff Smith, you know who? Now the actor's no longer around, but you know who I, for some reason, thought would have been a perfect voice for Talkie Tawny? Dean Stockwell.
Who's this tiger you speak of?
Talkie Tawny. He's the
Talkie
tiger.
Tawny in Shazam.
He was not in the movie. He was not in the movie.
Yeah. They had like a stuffed toy somewhere or something.
Yeah. Which is almost like, they going the Calvin and Hobbes route?
Yeah, the Talkie Tawny. Funny animal comics were popular at the time, and so they brought in. This
Jeff Smith did a great job having him be this hobo guy who turns whose real form is a talking tiger. Yeah. And one of my favorite bits was, of course, hey, Mary, all right? Don't worry, Tawny. I'm great. Very funny. But again, stuff like that. But again, for some reason, I saw Dean Stockwell voicing that version of Tawny. I don't know why. Maybe because of how the hobo looked. But could you? Oh, hey, look who's here.
Yeah, mention Talkie Tawny. Momo appears. Yeah.
Bobo.
Momo.
But again,
Yeah.
but that's just, I don't know why, it's just this kind of raspy kind of voice, you
I
know?
could see Dean Stockwell as talking to Ani. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but,
I
but
mean,
doing that kind of voice, like a, Mary, are you all right? You know, just that type of voice that, it's sort of talking like this. I'm like, no, that would drive people away. You need
yeah,
to get a
no,
more normal voice that might even be counter to what you think of that tiger. But I think his voice could have been like a, hey, how's it going, guys? Even when he was in the
because
tiger form.
it pretty much would have been the part that Dean Stockwell played on Quantum Leap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But not invisible.
Yeah. See, I mean, it's interesting because as people say, if you keep the characters of the core, superfluous stuff won't matter. And yet
Exactly. Oh,
sometimes it
it's like
does.
Superman. It's like Superman. The fact that you had the creators and Mankiewicz and Don are both agreed. If we get the romance to work, everything else will fall into place.
That's true. Yeah.
And they are exactly right. Even Margot Kidder's acting fell into place when you had the romance. Without the romance, I'm sorry, Jay, her acting didn't work.
Well,
Oh,
it was a product of the time. You would never
Yeah.
do that Lois Lane today, which is
Oh.
unfortunate. Though I
Oh,
do
yeah.
think
I think.
the woman they have in Superman and Lois right now is the closest
Oh,
to what she did with it.
I would also say, oh, geez, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name from Superman Lois.
Terry something.
Terry Hatcher.
Terry Hatcher. Yeah.
But
No,
unfortunately, that's what a joke of Lois Lane. How dumb was she? Came from that show.
well, okay, that show in general was kind of
Oh yeah,
fluffy.
but that was it. Dean Cain, great Clark, perfect Clark, not a good Superman.
That's
But because he wasn't hired for Superman, he was hired for Clark.
a good point. I
But-
mean, that's another one. Nobody complained.
Great Martha Kento. I love Martha in that show. And you know one of my favorite lines that I still always love is when they're making the new outfit for everything. It's like, well, for one thing, no one's gonna be looking at your face. Mom, well,
Yeah.
they don't go in tights for nothing. I'm just like, I love that Martha just from that line.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I think you have to make a great standalone movie that the general audience can get and don't focus much on the content. I think that's why Sonic worked. Sonic worked because the first movie did not have that much except for Sonic and Eggman and Warp Rings. But other than that,
except the reason so many of the MCU movies did so well was because of continuity. And this is why it's more art than science, right?
yeah.
I mean, you would have thought by the second reboot of Spider-Man, they would have been tired, but they made it new enough. But they
but they had to get rid of Uncle Ben. They had to get rid of Uncle Ben and everything, which at least now I would say this: at least No Way Home found a way around it.
Yeah, but I also think people could have freaked out about Aunt May not being old, but now when you think about
they made a good line in there. The funny thing though, she's the age Aunt May was in the comics.
That's right.
Yeah, but back then, when you were in your 50s, you were Crypt Keeper decrepit.
That's right. 50 was a very different thing back then.
I know, and that's what you said. Oh, what if ants come in different age, shapes, and sizes? It's just like
then they're like, we want to do a different take on MJ, but then they were smart, and it's like she's not going to be Mary Jane Watson
until No Way Home revealed her last name is Watson and implied she had problems with her dad. Then you're like,
oh, they established the problems with her dad early on.
Oh yeah, but then they had to confirm her last name is Watson. Then you're like,
but it's still Marie Jones Watson. It's not.
Oh yeah, and I love how they say she's my MJ. I love my MJ. They basically now we have MJ, we have Gwen, Mary Jane, we have Gwen, and then we just have MJ, and all. That's the other thing I loved about it. It gave some legitimacy to all three versions by having these three interact.
But I mean, they race swapped Flash Thompson. They race swapped Ned Lee.
Yeah, no, actually, it was Ned. They took him more from the Ultimates version.
Yes, yeah. But that was the thing, is that because I think that first of all, they did it with everybody across the board. Also,
oh, and boy, did they! I gotta say, my favorite version of Flash has to be the Amazing version.
Okay, yeah.
Here's my defense. Because yes, he was an asshole, but the moment then Uncle Ben died, he was then egging Peter on so we could have someone to take the aggression out of. He was willing to be the punching bag so Peter didn't do something worse. That gives me a lot more props to this Flash thing compared to other ones where he's like, yeah, he's acting like a dick just so Peter can actually take out the aggression, because like he already knows I'm an asshole. Might as well let him take it out on me than any of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it because it was the third incarnation with Tom Holland, they could make some of those changes because everybody's like, "Oh, here we go again." So, and there's an example of they changed a lot in those Spider-Man movies, but they got the core of the character now. Okay, they had a
Exactly.
lot more road to do it. He was introduced in Civil War, but they got the core of the character, and so people were willing to be patient with some of the changes. But there's an example where they actually did change a whole metric fuck
Oh
ton of
yeah,
stuff.
but the funny thing also is that thank God, aside from Goblin, they didn't have another, besides Goblin, they never had another double actor, so they can bring them all in,
Mhm,
all the
mhm,
villains.
mhm.
Even
Yeah.
Goblin, that was kind of.
What, in No Way Home?
No, I'm saying no. If you took, I'm saying because you had the Amazing Goblin, which was different enough.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No,
Which,
it's, I mean,
thank God they didn't bring him into it. Thank God. I don't think that would have worked.
see, I thought the Holland
Defoe, though, nailed it. Oh.
but they do some interesting thing reimagining some otherwise very silly villains.
Oh
right?
yeah, Electro, and they both did it interesting and amazing, but then they ride the ship with No Way Home.
To me, I thought the Vulture was really well done in that Tom Holland Spider-Man movie because it's like,
God, and what they've done in Morbius with. Ugh.
I didn't see it. I don't like Jared Leto. I don't see Jared Leto movies. I'm trying to think of what did
I
you
didn't know
see
my
the
mic was
Uncharted
muted.
movie?
Whoops.
Did you see the Uncharted movie?
No.
Okay.
How was it? How was it?
The people I was with who didn't play the games really enjoyed it. I was sitting there at some of the things they just change for the sake of change so often. Tom Holland's fantastic. It's
how about Marky Mark?
He's the worst part of it.
Marky Mark.
Oh.
He's the worst part of it. Worst part of it, not Sully. Complete miscast. I mean, they
And the problem is when you have that awesome fan film that nailed it in every regard.
It should have been Nathan Fillion. Just the Nolan North cameo in the movie was excellent.
Oh wait, someone made a good point here.
Oh yeah.
He does do that as a case of like, oh, I'm just messing. It's what the character would do. It's like, no, it's not.
That when you're doing that, it's not acting.
When you're especially when you're wanting people to carry you around because I'm trying to be like my character's bone deterioration.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
That's absurd. But yeah, that's a good point. Why they did the change, because it was inner city New York. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Spider-Man movies. But there's an example of a movie where there were changes. There was some squawking before the film came out. It was nowhere near the fever pitch that it is now. But I think in part it was because they'd already established some trust with introducing Spidey in Civil War. That I thought was a masterstroke, the way they brought Spider-Man back.
Oh yeah, and they basically took what was done in Civil War, which is one of the few good things about that initially was the Peter Tony stuff, and then twisted it.
Do we treat the Civil War movie as an adaptation? Because the only thing it had in common with the comic is basically the name.
No, I think I always looked at it as Civil War done right.
It had nothing from it.
No, it had them fighting over this type of legislation. It just, instead of being from the U.S., it was the UN.
Yeah, but it was still so. I mean, okay, they have to have far fewer.
To be fair, it's more like this. Here's how it goes: you have Civil War, the comic. Then you have Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, which adapted a lot from Civil War, but then added some other elements. And then you have the movie, which clearly took more inspiration from Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. So you kind of had an adaptation of an adaptation.
That's interesting, because I agree the Civil War comic was a hot mess.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying, right? It's like,
no,
if you look at it like that way, if you look at it that way, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 already fixed a lot of the problems of the comic, but was very faithful to the comic in all the other regards, but still made it work. and then you have the movie, which basically took a lot of the broad strokes of that game and then made it more of a made it to movie.
Okay, I'm gonna possibly controversial. What do we think about the Witcher Netflix adaptation?
I haven't watched that.
Okay, we get to dodge that bullet.
For which
Well,
one?
you could talk about it.
The Witcher Netflix show. If you guys haven't seen it, I won't.
Go ahead. I don't give it spoiled.
Oh well, that was
My brother already spoiled me because he watched it first.
Okay. The only good things about it was that this is why I thought of it. Henry Cavill realized exactly what you said. More people will have played the video game than read the books. So we're gonna give him the Geralt from the video games because
that's what everyone wanted.
But so much of there's an example of they skipped the games and went back to the books for some things, but then they radically changed certain things from the books, and it's created this massive domino effect season 2 that some people were really shocked by, but I saw coming. Because if you age Ciri up, if they don't meet in the correct way, if you don't set up the relationships between the characters in that just so, you can't do the more advanced stuff later on, and it's just sort of come up. It's sort of like the thing to me. This is they don't get Yennefer, and they
I want to say this quickly. I want to see that movie. I want to see everything everywhere.
Michelle
I
Yeoh
want to see.
Right?
I keep on hearing how great that is.
Yeah, people are
too.
raving about it. Yeah.
Yep.
But
I will say that from what I've seen from The Witcher, like clips, he has video game dialogue to me. Like, it's part of the video game where somebody is like an NPC is talking to you, and you get to choose how you want to respond. So when I see it, there was somebody talking to him, and he responds with and I'm like, that's like video game dialogue.
I will say this. I love Cavill. He is a nerd among nerds.
He's great in that part. I like him better as Geralt than Superman.
But that's the other thing. You could tell he can do a good Superman. He really has the type of acting that can do it. But then when he keeps on saying he'd rather be back with Zach, and tells you, do you get the character then if you really think Zach understands the character?
Well, I mean, with his Geralt, that was a major change from the books to the games.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, because the games took place after the books.
Not just that. Geralt in the books talks a lot, and in the first few episodes of the Witcher Netflix show, they have him doing those monologues, and apparently as they were shooting, Henry Cavill's just like, let me act it instead of speak it. Like, let this is what people want, trust me on this. And it definitely made it better because less is more.
Exactly.
In Witcher characterizations with Yennefer showing her suffering instead of alluding to it, that is not what the character would want. That is not how she'd want to be depicted.
Unfortunately, you had an actor who probably didn't care about the role and about the original source.
I just think they didn't know it. I mean, other than nerds like me, I read fan translations of the original short stories, It's like, what? Who does it? And I mean, it's funny because
it's like this. Going back to Speed Racer, Emile Hirsch, the guy who played Speed. What happened when he got the role? He watched every episode, and then he went to a racetrack and actually talked with a professional racer about everything.
Cool.
That's cool. And it worked. When you look at how he acts like Speed does. Because
he did do a good job with that.
And same with Christina Ricci. She was Trixie. John Goodman, he was Pops. And I heard people actually did not like his casting as Pops when it originally was done. And it's like, he nailed it. Susan Sarandon at what little we saw for her.
Don't like her, yeah.
But as much as we saw of her as the mom, she did a good job. And then Matthew Fox, great as Racer X, and they even gave Peter, the guy who did the original dubbing voice for Speed and Racer X, he had the cameo as the old announcer.
Oh, okay, that's who that was.
Yeah, the one who's saying like, I knew Rex Racer, and if he's looking down at his brother and smiling. Peter Fernandez. Peter Fernandez.
Okay. Hey, Momo, what do you think?
Hey, Momo.
You know what's excellent? This is a weird adaptation. The Cuphead cartoon.
Oh, that's an interesting one. It both matches the original source that the game was going for, and yet does enough changes because you need to give actual characterizations to these characters.
Yeah, and I mean they bring in some of the other characters from the game, but it's not
Look at Miss
just
Chalice. Look at Miss Chalice.
Yeah, well, the Frog Brothers, and it was really good.
Oh, the
but
pig guy. The pig guy.
Pork rinds, yeah, the
Pork rinds.
shopkeep, yeah.
Oh, I love the fact that he wanted to smash them.
That was really funny. I mean, they.
Well, because when you think about it, there's no character to him in the game. He's just a what
Yeah.
do you want?
Well, yeah, like that's it. They fleshed him out.
I tell you, I have not seen the CGI He-Man I've seen it once. I do not recall much about it. I thought it was all right for what it was.
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
I just started singing the Cuphead because He-Man, I go to my happy place. The
Mm,
whole He-Man remake, adaptation, all of it.
and yet people
does-
still now. Do you think it's definitely dead, the Revelations, or do you think it's still keeping it quiet? Because how many shows are there out there that they keep? They take a while before they renew. I mean, look at Young Justice. Look how long it took Young Justice to get that other season.
I suspect Netflix probably wants to do more. Kevin Smith doesn't.
You think so?
I wouldn't do it if I were him. He got blamed for a bunch of shit that wasn't
When
his
he did,
fault.
when it wasn't even his fault, exactly. But unfortunately, thanks to clownfish and everyone, oh, it's all Kevin's fault because he lied. It's like, again, what about Rob David? What about the other guys at Mattel? They had the right of first refusal.
They don't know their names and they don't know their.
I brought it up
faces.
many times, and they go like, "Nope, it's Kevin's." Like, Rob David is the head of the animation department.
Well, Clownfish knows about Mattel since they've made many videos on them.
Yeah, but they play dumb
But
just so they can.
They don't want to mention it.
They don't want to mention it because they want to target Kevin.
What,
because
season
Kevin's
CGI
the easy
had
target.
season 2 already?
Oh yeah, they already had a second season. They just steamrolled.
Where's the Revelation season 2?
Now, to be fair though, is it a second fresh season or was it one of their whole? Oh, we made a big batch.
I suspect.
Which I think that's what the second season was. I think it was the second batch because how many animators have been coming out more about this saying that's how they do it, so they can then not have to pay as much because they do it that way. The Cuphead animators basically revealed that.
Well, yeah, but also that process is very slow. The Cuphead animation.
That's why I think if they do Revelations, I think they're going to get a different showrunner.
Probably, I don't think Kevin Smith will come back.
Not after that. Not after making it very clear that he has a target on his back, and these people don't care about facts.
Yeah,
I mean, Rob David, right? I'm just kidding.
More Rob David. Rob David should actually take it up.
I think so. Yeah.
Because I mean, he was great with the CGI He-Man, so we know what.
No, he didn't do. No. He didn't do much with the CGI stuff. That was what's his name? He did the Stephanie Brown Batgirl. Brian Q. Miller.
That was him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was the one behind the CGI show.
Okay.
Really? Because I saw an interview with Rob David and somebody else saying how
he executive produced it. I have to agree with it. I have to agree with this.
Welcome to the Cuphead Show.
Yep, like they're forcing him to watch his movie Clockwork Orange style.
Yeah, I just disassociate from He-Man. Just Cuphead. I love Cuphead.
I know. Welcome to the Cuphead Show. But I gotta say, I love the Miss Chalice one episode.
Got the heebie-jeebies. Like, it's all so good. Watch the Cuphead Show.
But again, with Miss Chalice, because hey, it's Greg Griffin, first of all.
Well, it's also
no, I'm talking about for Chalice. I'm talking about for Chalice.
Yeah, no, the thing that's interesting about that is they actually do shout outs to like really old Warner Brothers cartoons and really old Disney shorts.
Oh, the rubber hosing of it.
Well, just the homage to that classic Mickey, Donald, and Goofy cartoon where they're in the trailer, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, have you seen that? And I still love that. It's the same guy working on Cuphead, one of the same people who worked on those Mickey Mouse shorts they've done recently.
Yeah, and he's done a couple other things. He doesn't have a super long resume, but he's done other things.
What he's done has been memorable.
Yeah, interesting. It was a real work of art, and you don't have to, much like Arcane, which I can't believe we've talked adaptations and haven't talked Arcane.
Oh,
You
yeah,
don't have to tweak a
that's
show.
a case where Arcane is a case of where they did change quite a lot.
Well, I mean, they changed the whole tone, and I actually probably would have enjoyed the latter bits more had I not known who was plot armored. But I still
Yeah.
love the crap out of Arcane. It was just,
Well,
they
because I
retconned
think
some
because
backstories.
I think it's because it's its own world. It's not like an official. This leads right into the game origin.
Well, you kind
It
of
took
see
them
where it's
6
going,
years
but
to create this. It
they're
was a
they're
long
t-
time.
well, just getting the animation style to work, I imagine, was a challenge. But
Oh,
they
yeah.
had
It
a
was the story.
long runway.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they're trying to get the story right too.
yeah.
Yeah, so as they said, it took them 6 years for the story, and I'm like, wow, you
Oh,
guys really
I
thought
just
about a
realized.
lot.
I just realized. Here's a different adaptation I want to also bring. Since we're doing video games, Resident Evil.
Oy.
Okay, the first movie where it's a movie that fit in the that could no. Can I say it? It's a movie. It's a story that could have fit in the middle of the universe because it was just its own separate thing. You didn't have to worry about it. It was from the second one onward where they forced it into the universe where it had issues, and then you had the recent movie which was good guy. Give me the Paul W.S. Anderson movies over the current one because they basically decided let's combine the first two games into one movie when they were separated months apart.
It just, the way you do a Resident Evil adaptation is you do a goofy, schlocky 80s gore send up. James Gunn could do a great Resident Evil movie. I don't.
Again, I should say the first one again because it could fit in the world is why it kind of worked.
But Resident Evil works when it's ridiculous, right? You have these moments that are legitimately
Yes.
scary, but then you're.
But then look at 7 though.
Yeah, but 7 was a deviation from the formula, right? And then they went back more true to form.
With
for the
Village.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially Dimitrescu.
I think that all the bosses were very much
Oh yeah,
Resident Evil
especially
bosses.
Oh yeah, and I gotta say, one thing I will give props is that we are now starting to get the mocap actors, and I do gotta say they are different than regular voice actors. Although I do feel they get a little too full of themselves when they say "Don't compare us to them." I'm like, okay, really? Don't demean voice actors. They get enough of it already from regular actors.
See, voice acting is harder in
Oh
some
yeah,
ways, but
but I'm
mocap
just saying that.
acting.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Some of these mocap actors from Resident Evil, I think they felt a bit too high of themselves, being like, "Oh, don't call me a voice actor because I'm actually acting." It's like, okay, don't demean them.
That's a pay scale thing.
Yeah, but I'm just
That's
saying,
a pay scale thing.
don't demean them.
Yeah, but there is a challenge to working in that mocap suit and forgetting you're wearing that mocap suit, and there is a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of.
and I think
It
the
is
people
closer to green screen acting than voice acting, but voice acting is hard in its own. I do both.
Oh yeah,
So, yeah.
and it also depends on how much of your performance gets taken. Like I always still love. Once I saw the behind the scene footage, she actually does Dimitrescu when she just after throws the table and then she just shakes her fist like, "Argh!" I'm like, oh, I love that little detail of her just shaking her fist like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
And
I
the
mean that compared to the guy who's like the fish dude, there's not as much left in. Yeah, I felt so bad for him though.
Oh yeah,
my
I know.
second favorite.
I know, but I just love again seeing the behind the scene like get away! Woo!
Yeah.
He's awake! And I love the detail when you see she runs up and then she gets on a platform while the actress who's about to hold her is holding this little box. I'm like, again, that tells you they went the extra mile for that.
But that's like old school movie making, right?
Exactly.
Like, that's what's so cool about it. And I mean, Resident Evil Village was short, but
Well, the fact they're taking forever to do the DLC because they never thought they were going to do DLC.
They didn't know what they had with Lady Dimitrescu. It caught them off guard. But I mean,
yeah, because if they did, they wouldn't have had her be the first boss.
Yeah, because then it's like all downhill from there. But Resident Evil kind of has that. They always have that last level be like a tech military thing, and it's always a letdown after the more.
Except for two. 2 is the one that was like perfect the whole game around.
Yeah, because even 4 does that, right? You get chased by the dwarf driving the giant statue, and then it's this military level, and it's just sort of like it just feels like more game.
The only time it worked out was when you had the DLC was Ada involved, and then it kind of because Ada always improves things, except for 6, where the game was all about her. 6 was a case where you tried to please everyone and you ended up pleasing no one.
I didn't play 6. I didn't play 6. I was late to 7 because the VR for Resident Evil 7 actually made me want to vomit. So
But that's why I went play. That's why I went and do the VR.
Yeah, no, it was an intense experience.
Well, hey, Bianca, what is your opinion on Resident Evil? Have you ever played the games?
No, I don't play scary games.
Oh.
See, that's the thing. You could make an interesting Resident Evil series if you actually went 40% camp.
Oh, here's something interesting. The idea of look at the remake for Resident Evil 2. Look how much they changed. But you know what's always my prime example of going to a change that works so well, but you never would have thought about it was what they did to Kendo, the gun dealer.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, in the Resident Evil 2, he's the one who's all with his daughter.
See, I can't play Resident Evil 2 because I can't stand being chased.
Oh.
So I've seen it. I'm aware of it. I know about Mr. X. I think it's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm talking about though with Kendo. He's the one who has the daughter who's a zombie or slowly changing.
Oh yes, yes.
But in the first game, he was who are you? What are you doing here? Pointing the gun at you and like, hold your fire. I'm a human. That guy. So they really changed his character, but in a way you're like, oh.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I played Outlast when it first came out, and I felt like the Resident Evil 2 remake borrowed a lot from that. So, and maybe they were.
Wait. You mean the second remake? The first remake was.
Yes, the second remake. Yeah.
Oh, Tavia, I do agree. Resident Evil 3 remake was disappointing. It should have been DLC for the second one. Unfortunately, because they gave it to their B team to rush it out.
Yeah. Well, they need to get games out so they could make.
But they rushed it out. So it's like that's part of the reason why they had to cut corners and cut the whole clock tower sequence and cut the choices because unfortunately they didn't have time.
I forgot they cut the whole clock tower sequence. That's why I didn't play it.
Yeah. Good God. And then you have the weird creature that shoves something down your throat, and you can only do a with your green herb. To spew out all the stuff. Otherwise, you're going to kill. Once you reach a certain health level, you just kill over dead. Well, if you go to caution.
Yeah, I don't know. See, video game remakes are tough because it's very rare that
the second one nailed it. The second one nailed it because they changed so much. Now, granted, it can't fit in the lore. There's no way in hell it could fit in it. That's why you got to treat it as its own separate in the entry.
Right.
Because they changed so much.
Yeah, but I mean, like when they remade the Monkey Island games to put in voice acting, I still go back and play the original.
By the way, are you excited for Return?
Yes.
Now, did you hear though? Earl Bowen is definitely not returning as LeChuck, but he has given his blessing for someone else to take over because he's I'm retired. They were lucky enough to get him back for those remakes and for Tales because he had just retired at that point. So they're like, hey, come on back. He's like, okay, I'll come back for this. And that was in 2009. By now, he's been retired for over a decade.
Yeah,
there's
his
no
voice
way.
Probably doesn't sound the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
I don't have issues with them recasting LeChuck.
He's one of my favorite comedic villains of all because of how he goes incredibly dangerous but incredibly funny, depending on the situation. Even in the fourth game, he still worked.
Yeah. It's Monkey Island's one of those games that I'm glad there's some hype around it because it is so...
Oh, yeah. Oh, Sea of Thieves. Have you played that game?
Yes.
There's a Monkey Island Easter egg.
The whole art style is so...
But there is an Easter egg where, get this, Kate capsized from the second game.
Oh,
they actually deal with her going after Guybrush and ended up there.
Okay, that's cute.
And now she's trying to make her way back to the... And even describe how she raised up the sea monkey and repaired it all, and then went out looking for Guybrush, and then ended up in the Sea of Thieves, basically saying she's dead, and now she's trying to get back to the land of the living.
Yeah, I'm just glad some of these games are...
Tavia, I did a review on Sonic 2, by the way. Check that out.
Yes, check out the Sonic 2 review. That one's doing so
Oh, and
damn well.
Hominist, who's retired Earl Bowen. If you ever seen Terminator, he was Dr. Silberman, the psychiatrist.
What other remakes haven't we talked about? Or are we good? Does anybody
Or
does
adaptations.
anybody anybody in chat have an adaptation they want us to talk about that we haven't mentioned?
Because there's I'm trying to think of any other type of adaptation.
I mean, to me, the ones that are weird are the TV shows that are remaking 80s TV shows.
Oh yeah, that is weird. Now some of them work. Some of them work, but a lot of like Miami Vice.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the Magnum remake.
Oh, the Magnum one.
Yeah.
But then you have ones that don't work, like MacGyver.
That show.
It was MacGyver in name only.
The original MacGyver was not a well-rated show. It was more of a meme. I liked
Hawaii Five-0. Someone brought up. Oh,
see, I didn't like Hawaii Five-0, but that's just me. I thought everybody was too pretty in it. But MacGyver had moments where it was super fun. The guy who plays Polka Dot Man played a bad guy in that.
Oh,
But
right.
then-
Someone say, so I'm disappointed that the new Perry Mason is a prequel. I'm so tired of prequels and origins. I think that kind of works because I think they don't want to disrespect and try and capture the same bottle as Perry Mason.
I don't know how to feel about that Perry Mason prequel.
Well, I haven't watched it. I'm just saying
I did like the HBO Watchmen series. I did think that was an interesting extrapolation.
Did we talk about the Umbrella Academy?
Oh
no, we didn't.
That is from what Tristan's always told me. That is because I've not read. I've actually did read through Umbrella Academy. I've only seen a little bit of the show, but from what I have seen, it's been a good adaptation.
Doom Patrol greater than Umbrella Academy. Fight me.
Tell Tristan that, not me. I'm not getting
a hard
between you
agree.
two.
Yeah, Umbrella Academy. I don't know. It is a pretty decent adaptation of the comic. The problem is I didn't love the comic, and so it's like, well, okay, I know what's happening here. As opposed to Runaways. Did you guys see the Runaways?
Yes,
adaptation?
and
No.
that was so many changes.
So many changes.
And
So
some
many
worked,
changes.
some didn't.
Some, yeah, but then
Others you understood why they changed.
But they never ran away, except very briefly within the city. It was no longer about them running away. I totally understand why they didn't kill characters.
Oh
right?
yeah, one they didn't want to be again. It's like the Robert Kirkman thing. Sometimes you want to make a swerve because you know these people. It's basically if something is so ingrained, you might want to add a swerve just to.
It just sort of ran out of gas. I mean, okay, the comic book series ran out of gas too, but
but now they've reached up to issue 100.
Yeah, but I mean
technically, even all the characters that died have come back by now in the comics.
But Otaku Cat has a good point. Mortal Kombat
adaptation. Oh yeah, I thought the first one, what Anderson did, despite being stuck with a PG-13 limitation, was good.
Okay, which one is that? The one back in like
90s, not Annihilation. That was the sequel to it. I'm talking about the other one.
I didn't mind that. It was.
It felt like I feel like it captured what the first two games were about. Then you came to the third one where you're just like, let's just toss as many characters as we can.
Well, I mean, Mortal Kombat was getting so bloated by that point, but I don't know. I haven't seen the new one. I've seen the Scorpion scenes because that's all I give a shit about.
I have seen the new one, and I thought
it was
decent.
Okay.
It's not as amazing of an adaptation as the original 90s one, but it was still a very serviceable one that at least set the stage for what's coming forward. But there's still a lot of changes as well that I can understand why people did not like it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I heard some of the changes, and it's like I'm not sure. I've lost my love for Mortal Kombat overall.
Well, here's a movie remake that's kind of also an adaptation: Godzilla vs. Kong.
I enjoyed that.
I know.
In fact,
Ingrid and I went through our entire Godzilla retrospective. In fact, I just posted our Godzilla vs. Kong video today, and looking back at it all, we think it's better than the original. The original one was good. It basically set the standard for the monster mashups.
Yes.
But Godzilla versus Mothra would end up improving on what Godzilla versus Kong did. And Godzilla versus Kong was just so out there by comparison. But then this one felt like they've been building up to this with the intent of this movie.
Yeah.
And so the Kong human plot was good. The Godzilla human plot was the shit one. Because the Kong one had a purpose.
Right.
No, the Kong one had a purpose. The Godzilla human side had a contrivance. So do we get them in place to be able to help with Mechagodzilla?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Kong and humans easier
work. I mean, now
do, right?
we still say this of all the Godzilla movies, and after seeing all of them, Ingrid and I both agree. Godzilla King of the Monsters, the MonsterVerse version, is our all-time favorite, and we love the human story in that one too because it felt like it actually worked. Yeah, even though the mother was the biggest pain in the ass,
right.
everything else about the human plot worked. And so when you see people saying, "Oh, the anime trilogy had a better one," what you mean the fucking the bug people? I had to bring that up again.
Yeah, just to traumatize
but I will say this though: the one problem was the Kong movie that Kong wasn't even in Godzilla's league. He may have been in Apex. But he wasn't even close.
Yeah.
I would say if there was a Monster vs. Gamera, he would be more in Godzilla's league than Kong.
Yeah.
Kong is like a young Apex, whereas Godzilla is an elder Apex. The only thing that put him in Godzilla's league was the axe.
All right. Question for you, because we're getting long in the tooth here, so I think we probably should wrap soon. But what, and chat can answer this too, what has not been adapted to something in any medium that you'd like to see adapted? To me, it's a proper Discworld series. Terry Pratchett's Discworld.
The only one that ever worked was the point-and-click adventure game, I think. And
yeah, I mean, Good Omens was decent, but that's a Terry Pratchett, Neil Gaiman thing. We need a proper Discworld brought to the masses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, we don't have Christopher Lee around to do Death's voice, who was always the perfect Death's voice, especially with all the goofiness, but you're hearing that serious voice from his.
See, Khonshu in Moon Knight does a pretty good all caps.
True.
Yeah.
Someone just say an actual Conan movie. I think so.
Yeah.
Digimon, no. If Digimon can do what Detective Pikachu did, it could work.
I'd love a Detective Pikachu type Yokai Watch.
Ooh.
I'd like that. I love Yokai Watch. And
I would like a proper Lupin the Third.
Oh, okay. Live action Castlevania?
Ooh, that could be hard because it depends on which version you go with. And with our luck, they'd be adapting the Lords of Shadow version with our luck.
I keep toying in my head about what a live action Oh My Goddess would be like.
Oh, yes. Here's one that
More Pierce hasn't been adapted either.
Here's one that Bianca and I talk about, Armitage the Third.
Okay.
You know about that one?
Not well, but I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that could work. If I had to pick another comic that hasn't been done, I think of Ecstatics. That's the X-Men one where they're a reality show. That would be a brilliant TV show.
Okay, but would they do Dupe right?
Oh,
I love Dupe.
I love Dupe. Imagine they did it through the old 2000s reality show style, and they intentionally shoot it like that. So even they have all this crazy stuff going on, they do where some dupe is carrying the camera and so shaking it around sometimes, and we're seeing them doing the action, but it's through a reality stuff, and we keep cutting back and forth.
See, there's a lot of missed potential with X-Men with stuff like Mojo World that way too. The Savage Lands Mojo World. That's what I want in new X-Men.
The Authority.
Haven't they done that? Oh no, that's Powers. They did.
No, the Authorities. Just imagine the Authorities done through. It's basically like it'll be a middle ground between Justice League and the Boys.
Yeah, pretty much. Or 2020.
Oh, so long as you go with the Warren Ellis version. If you go with the Mike Millar version, you're just getting the Boys again.
Yeah. Psychopath live action. I didn't mind the Doom movie, but yeah, they could have done better.
Better than at least the Doom movie was better than that abomination of a sequel or remake or whatever.
Aren't they making a Static Shock something?
Yeah, they've been trying to work on that.
Yeah,
Static Shock. We already had Why the Last Man. That was
Oh, I'll
Am I
never
allowed
get.
to say a live action Vixen movie?
You
Despite her
know what?
story being in the CW?
That could work.
Animal Man.
Oh my
I
god,
love
I
Animal
love Animal
Man.
Man. That and
Am-
Adam Strange.
Animal Man should, and Adam Strange. Yeah, Adam Strange should get a TV show, and Animal Man should also get a TV show.
Mhm.
And because now depends on which Animal Man you go with. If you go more the Morrison route, I think it could work, or the Jeff Lemire route. If you go the Rick Veitch version, though, where he actually becomes this, he dies and becomes this weird bird creature. No.
See, I'd want them to do a Power Girl series on Disney. Sorry,
Ooh.
not Disney. HBO Max, but make it a comedy, kind of like they did
The
with
Jimmy Palmiotti,
WandaVision.
the Jimmy Palmiotti Amanda Connor version. Go with
Right,
that.
right, where she's in an apartment and everything like that.
Oh,
But make it so that you do homages to those old, like have her do a Baywatch run, have her do some Russ Meyer homages.
I
like,
say this: do this, but through now. Don't have James Gunn actually do it, but through the filter of what Peacemaker did. That type of
right,
filter.
right.
The filter again. Don't have James do it because I don't think he'd be able to get Power Girl proper. I really don't. I think there's some characters he couldn't.
I'm trying to think of who could possibly do
Here's an
that.
adaptation that actually both worked, even though it changed so much from the source material. iZombie.
Yeah, that
Oh,
wasn't
I
bad.
like
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's completely different from the actual from getting in the Cthulian version takes of the comic. I'm trying to see what else I have that I would love to see.
Netflix did a
Question series is
adaptation of
interesting.
Full Metal
Ex
Alchemist.
Machina. Ex Machina.
Ex Machina would be good.
Well,
I know
especially
nothing of that.
got a superhero runs for and goes into politics, and after he failed to stop one of the trade towers from falling.
I mean, I think it's interesting that they haven't done. Oh, I'm blanking
I'm
the
surprised.
name on it now.
I wish they could have done if it wasn't for the stuff, the lawsuit stuff. Them doing a proper Hulk show.
Yeah, I mean that's all tied up. I'd love the Hulk to actually get a movie.
Deathstroke. Deathstroke should properly get something, especially if they go with when he was his own title character, just going around hunting people down. Oh yeah, James Gunn did write the first live action Scooby-Doo, and it was meant to be more of a farce. But then Warner Brothers stepped in and decided, no, make it still more serious. That's why it has this such inconsistent tone. And did you know that Tim Curry was going to be involved in Rowan Atkinson's role until he found out Scrappy was involved, and then he refused because he hates Scrappy.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah, he's like, yes, I want it. Wait, he looks through the script. Wait, Scrappy's involved. Calls his agent, cancel it. I am not going to be in this piece of shit if Scrappy's in it. No, seriously, that is what happened. The moment he found out Scrappy was involved, he canceled it.
Makes sense to me. I don't blame him.
Oh, a Nightwing adaptation.
One note's a book I got that's so weird of an adaptation because it's a sequel. People wouldn't recognize the movie of it, but the sequels are sequels to the novels. But then they go so off the rails, you're like, what does it have to do with anything in the movie? And that's the Fight Club sequels.
Oh, it's interesting because I was saying a Metro, the Metro books and Metro games.
Yep.
Same thing. Like,
well, yeah, but they've had the creator involved with those. Oh, live action Fooly Cooley. Oh wait,
we're making another one.
Love Hina. The Love Hina anime manga. It was one of those harems and everything, but it's crazy.
Wait, are we still talking? They're like live adaptations,
or something that should get some type of a live adaptation. Yeah, just imagine Love Hina getting an adaptation.
I agree with Hominous Psychopaths.
Yeah, someone Stalker really did it better. Live action School Rumble. That'd be interesting, but I don't know if they go as far as they would in those stuff.
It's interesting. There's no shoujo series that anybody wants adapted.
Yes.
Oh, I do.
Yes.
Bianca has one.
Oh my gosh! No, don't escape from my brain. I was literally about.
I
to
did that
say
earlier
it.
too. Proper
Hey.
vampire that made
I-
live
You want to know?
action.
Oh, you want to know one manga that actually got a Japanese live action adaptation that was really good until it got to near the end where they had to deviate so much. Ranma 1/2.
I have the manga. I'll be right back.
Oh, she's going to get her
Yeah.
manga. Oh
Wait,
my!
you know,
We're in a high school club. Isn't that already basically Riverdale with the dicier stuff?
we will not file Utina in this house. Oh, proper Vampire the Wait, there was another Vampire the
Oh,
Masquerade.
all the Vampire the Masquerade adaptations have been terrible, but they could do a fun one if they.
Well, I was saying they did a live action Ranma. They did, but I did not like the climax of it, where it basically then took in a few other plot points, but then shoved them in, and you're like, ugh. Oh, Inuyasha. Imagine a live action Inuyasha. Or
You know what they could do?
Gundam
Presence is
Wing.
back.
Oh, Gundam Wing would be awesome. Okay, Bianca has the book now.
Yay!
What is it?
Otoman. Yay!
Ottoman?
What?
Otoman.
Otoman.
It's supposed to be think of the word otome, but otomen.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
that
what is that about?
Asuka Masamune is a guy who loves girly things, sewing, knitting, making cute stuffed animals, and reading shoujo mangas, but in a world where boys are expected to act manly, Asuka must hide his beloved hobbies and play the part of a masculine jock instead. Can Asuka ever show his true feeling to anyone, much less to Mia, the girl that he loves? And then Rio ends up coaching never mind. Boop. So there's a girl he likes named Rio who is like the exact opposite.
I would like the Slayers adaptation.
Bianca sold me on this concept now.
Yep. Oh yeah, but I say
I'd watch a show. I'd watch a show.
Right. I would agree, but I would love a live action Slayers. And you know what I think would be the big irony for them to do is, you know about Slayers, right? You know, Lena Inverse.
Mm-hmm.
I would love them to get an actress doing Lena who actually is pretty well endowed, but they have everyone else around, all the other women around her be even more endowed, just to play off the joke that she keeps thinking she's flat, when really she's not that badly endowed. It's just that everyone else around her is stacked more than she is.
Someday we will come back to a time where this stuff is allowed.
But you know what I mean, right? Because when you look at Lena, she's not that bad in the curves department. It's just that when you have everyone else around her, she looks like she's flat as a board by comparison.
You know what I just realized based on what Kinky Ray said? I'd watch a Yakuza series based on the games.
Oh, I just realized. Here's another adaptation that I don't know if you know about. Have you ever heard of? It's one of Grant Morrison's comics, Happy.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of
the
it.
Chris Maloney one with the little animated flying donkey voiced by Penn Oswald.
Yes. I tried to watch that. I couldn't get into it. But
but the actual original book, it was a self-contained stuff. The guy dies at the end, so it's like how much could they adapt? And they actually did at least got 2 seasons out of it.
Yeah, it's too bad the Dirk Gently series fell apart because that was not a bad adaptation of that concept.
You know what I want to see adapted, but I would be more do it just because I want to see how they would adapt it. Grant Morrison's The Invisibles, just to see how they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be weird. Or Joe the Barbarian, the kid with I forgot what disease. Yeah, just imagine that if they did a Joe the Barbarian. There's a lot of Morrison stuff that can get perfectly adapted and be really fresh.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Morrison is all about doing a moderate amount of drugs while writing, not doing like a huge amount of drugs.
The guy still thinks he actually met aliens.
Are we still calling him a guy? I thought Grant Morrison's not.
Or they.
Now. Yeah,
whatever.
They've got a book coming out that I'm sure has already been optioned sight unseen.
Yeah, but now I would say though, I think his definition of non-binary is different from everyone else's.
Well, is this person from your Twitch channel? The song worse
yes
son. I could go on an entire rant about how shoujo manga isn't getting us enough attention.
You guys would get along, Bianca. You guys would get along. You have a lot.
Now here's the big thing though. We're throwing stuff we want to see, but in the current climate, do we really want it?
Do you really want to taste
it?
Yeah, but am I right though? In the current, we just listed stuff that we want to see adapted, but here's the big question: do we really want them adapted in the current climate? And I say a lot of these animes, if it's keep it away from Netflix. Have someone else do it.
Well,
But keep it.
yeah, but give Amazon some love. Like someone put a show on Prime worth watching.
I'm waiting for they're doing the Lord of the Rings before I do Judgment, and unfortunately,
I'm probably gonna hold off on that Lord of the Rings.
unfortunately, I'm getting the same vibes from the people who did Cowboy Bebop. It's higher than thou. I know what people really want mindset. And I'm just saying, get those people out of Hollywood if they really think like I know better than the original creator.
It's
And it doesn't help when you have some of these. It doesn't help when you have some of these Lord of the Rings fan sites being chill, saying, "Oh yeah, they know what's best." It's like then you're not really a fan if you're just going to disregard and dump on Tolkien like that.
when something's that expensive, a lot of compromises are gonna get made, and I'm
Yeah,
I'm
but now
going
they
to my
own.
welcome to the Cuphead show.
Yeah,
Welcome to the
but you
Cuphead
get.
show. That's my happy place.
No, Blazing. We already talked about Death Note. Well, we keep
Yeah,
trying to. We keep trying.
Blazin wasn't here, and we talked about Death Note.
We kept trying to
You know
talk
what
about.
I want? An actually decent Fantastic Four movie.
Yes, and
But
you know what?
Mark Hamill has to be Doctor Doom. Because Mark Hamill loves Doctor Doom.
Okay.
Character.
Oh,
And
what do you say, Mark Hamill? You know what I want to see? A Black Pearl adaptation.
oh my god, that would be great.
And it's more relevant now than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good book, and I'm glad someone else knows it other than me.
In fact, I have both the trade and the individual issues because the trade was censored.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I have both versions because of that.
Oh, that's
And
awesome. Yeah, that was a good graphic novel.
I still got to do my video on that. I still got to do my review on
You
that.
should. The Black Pearl's a great read.
I know, and I get more people have to know about it. And hey, I might get a life from Mark if I do it.
There you go.
I don't know
Yeah.
about Pearl.
Mark Hamill wrote a comic book about a
Yep.
vigilante who gets all his gear at a Radio Shack.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah,
And the media just emphasizes him so much to the point where it kind of takes on a life of its own.
Yeah. It's a very, very interesting book.
So I disagree. Shoujo is not less epic. The ones that they're adapting just happen to be less epic ones. Like there's a person right here that said Princess Tutu. Princess Tutu, Sailor Moon. Those
Pirates of Dark Water.
Robert and I both went squirrel with Pirates of Dark Water.
They Pirates of Dark Water, and they need the proper finale.
Yeah.
Oh God, do you remember when Cartoon Network? Do you remember when Cartoon Network?
Wait, let's let Bianca finish her point.
Sorry.
Shoujo, and we both derailed going Pirates of Dark Water. Okay.
Okay, yeah, Princess Tutu.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No,
Bianca.
go ahead. No, we're sorry. Go on.
So like Princess Tutu and then Sailor Moon, those have really like deep, complex storytelling and have some action.
Sailor Moon has had adaptations.
Yes. But what I'm saying is like a lot of shoujos that are coming out are still all just romance based. There is fantasy, there is action, there's a lot of this stuff, but they're completely ignoring it.
But here's the big
they're going the opposite. They're adding a lot more shonen romances now, where the female character is actually different than their typical shoujo character, and that's what it's annoying me. They keep adapting new different types of shonen, but they're keeping the shoujo the same, and I think that's a conspiracy right now.
I just realized something. We need a proper Dragon Ball adaptation.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
that's
would love
fighting
one.
words.
Madoka Magica? Oh no, hell no! Madoka Magica would no way would that work because they would so compromise that, or worse, they might just go straight to rebellion.
Yeah, Cartoon Network is still around. I heard they're now doing reruns of the older shows now.
Yep, but I will just say this though, Sailor Moon though. But here's the big question: do they go more with the anime or do they go more with the manga? Because as it goes on, it becomes very different.
Well, are you talking about the reboot they did of the Sailor Moon one?
No. I'm talking about the original anime or the how many we already mentioned about Ranma 1.5. There is an adaptation in Japan. But I'm saying, no, with Sailor Moon, you have the manga and you have the original anime, and even the original live action version are all very different.
Obviously, you go with the manga. I mean, you can just follow the reboot one too.
By the way, I gotta say, it's so funny. It's so funny. I've seen people always say, like, why do these girls have such long legs? And then you look at their creator.
Yeah.
Damn, is she leggy? I mean, it's just like, have you seen that image of her just laying on the steps and everything? Or just like, Damn, she's got legs, all right.
I'm just thinking about Pirates of Darkwater still.
Oh yeah. Oh, do you? SWAT cats.
Don't know that one.
Oh,
Are
biker
you
mice
sure
from
SWAT
Mars.
Cats?
Oh, Biker Mice from Mars. Okay, do you know Biker Mice
No,
from
no, no,
Mars?
no, I'm throwing out SWAT Cats
Right.
was one of the last Hanna-Barbera cartoons that came out right before the Cartoon Network stuff.
You know what
Oh,
I'd love is a
Dexter's Lab. A lot of those Cartoon Network shows would make great live actions.
I would love a Sly Cooper or Grim Fandango series.
Grim Fandango. Oh, Proper Monkey Island movie. Especially because pirates took how much from that original script they were doing.
Get
You do
Johnny
know
Depp
that.
as LeChuck. Everybody would go see it.
No, I wouldn't say Johnny as LeChuck. I do not see as Guybrush maybe or someone working with Guybrush.
No. Hey, you'd need a oh geez.
I think Jeffrey Rush would have been a great LeChuck. I think Jeffrey Rush.
You're right. Jeffrey Rush would be better, but you know who'd actually be a good Guybrush is the kid when he gets a bit older. The kid from Superman and Lois who plays John Kent.
Yes, he would good a great LeChuck, and not LeChuck, Guybrush. But who'd be Elaine? But who could be Elaine?
Zendaya.
Yep. Oh, Depp as Stan, hands down. Depp as Stan. Hey, welcome everyone. Would you like to make a great offer? I'm like, oh God, Depp would nail it as Stan. Yeah. Just constantly just waving his hands around and all that, or doing some of his own quirky. Instead of just waving his hands, he would do some other quirky.
Yeah, some staggering around or something.
Yeah,
like
but
that,
of course he'd have to wear a green screen outfit jacket so they can put in that perfect,
the lights and stuff, yeah.
Well, not just the light, but just the fact that they use this palette, the fact they've kept that in every version of the games, where his outfit's still this never moving palette. Even though his arms are moving, it's like you realize that's just one palette constantly, in place.
Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I have not Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I forgot all about.
You would have to need now. I don't know who they could do doing Grim, but you would have to get new kids to do. Oh, you know who could have done a good Mandy back in the day? Miranda Cosgrove, or Dakota Fanning. Either one of those could have done a good Mandy. Oh, Space Quest, Roger Wilco, King's Quest.
Well, I have to be out in a few minutes, guys.
No, don't worry. We're going to start wrapping up. We're just throwing some out there. But so many adventure games make themselves for good movies. Oh, yeah. Samurai Jack.
I don't know. Samurai Jack was all about the art style for me and the pacing and everything.
Well, why don't we go with the comic that was clearly inspired by that Samurai Jack took inspiration from, and that's Frank Miller's Ronin.
I thought I've heard they've taken a couple cracks at that and couldn't get anything. You know what I'd love is a proper Spirit TV show.
Yes. Miller did. Oh God, what was Miller doing?
Not that. Like a real Spirit. Like go back to Will Eisner's original kind of thing.
A proper Maniac Mansion adaptation, not that TV show they did in Canada.
That'd be interesting.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Now there's one thing I could say that's done in Japan that I don't think you ever need a adaptation for, and that's Rurouni Kenshin, because the Japanese did a great version already. You don't need to do it. Just put in the dub voices like they've been doing. You don't need to improve it.
Okay, so we should wrap because we all have to go.
Yep. So do I. So thank you. Oh, BioShock. Yeah, sorry. Okay, guys, enough throwing stuff out here.
We should have just started doing this an hour ago because now
we should have. But take it and we're to sign off. If anyone wants to support my channel, I put in a link to a PayPal account. If you want to donate anything there, I'd really appreciate it. But thank you, and Liana. Thank you, Bianca, for joining in. And I think we should do another discussion about this at a future point, because clearly we just started something here.
We'll do another one about things we'd like to see, because that seemed to get everybody jumping.
Yeah. So thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one.